That's why that pot of water here, y'all be throwing out the water.
No, we get the water in there.
Yeah, I found mine now, just until there's some kind of.
We get the water in there and then.
Oh, that's great.
How is it? Oh, how is it? Did it start melt?
Yeah, I do know. Y'all can stop freezing them.
That's the refrigerator freezer. When I took them out, they were slushy.
A lot of them-
Come, let me see.
Come on.
All right, I've already started. That's fine. I'm gonna need something to set that on. Okay, Israel, we're gonna be starting in 60 seconds, okay? That's it, brother, right there. That's what we're looking for. So I guess over there you can take the rest of them out of that water. Shalom, everybody. Okay. Most High, Christ bless everybody.
Most High Christ bless you.
All right, so all praises to the Most High for giving us a spirit to come here, learn what the will of the Most High is. All right. So let me start this thing.
Conference recording started.
All right, Israel. So hey, we're gonna go over atoning. Okay, according to scriptures, today at even is the Day of Atonement, and it is a Sabbath. Okay, so we went through the long version of the scriptures, and I pray. What's up, y'all? Right now, I pray that everybody actually understood the atonement of Christ according to the scriptures. So the atonement of Christ is now the forgiveness of sins as a nation, opposed to when the Levitical priesthood went into the holiest behind the second veil once yearly. So that's done away with in Christ. Okay. So, but we'll start off in Leviticus chapter 23. Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 26. Read that.
This is Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 26.
Is that coming up?
A little bit.
It's not gonna work, so you gotta find something to fix that. Excuse me, give me 1 second.
Anybody got a rope there? Why won't it stick anymore?
How about tape? So, Leviticus chapter 23, sorry for difficulties. Leviticus 23 and now 24.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 24. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets.
No, where you at? I asked.
Verse 26, you said now 24, I'm sorry. Leviticus chapter 23, verse 26. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement.
Right, that's today. Okay, the 10th day. Shalom, Bobby Books. So now listen. It's the 10th day of the 7th month. So the new moon was September the 9th. So 10 days later is the 19th. That's tonight at even. Okay? So now, also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement. Okay, so now, the atonement that we kept under Moses, it had all of these instructions and all of these ordinances that was tied with this. But now we don't keep the Day of Atonement through Moses. We keep the Day of Atonement now through Christ. And keeping the Day of Atonement through Christ, this atoning that Israel does once a year, you don't have to do that. That's not what this Bible is talking about. We're going to read it, and then I'm going to show it to you. We had the long version and all the precepts and showing you why we must humble ourselves and listen to the Messiah, listening to the Most High. Listening to the Most High and listen how He would direct us, and through Christ we will keep this. But now we're just going to touch it up so that everybody can understand how to observe it and what they're doing. So now the big question that everybody would just blatantly just come out and ask, are we fasting? And the answer is no. Okay, why? Because through Christ we have been forgiven, and the Father has received that atonement and that forgiveness of sins. Okay, so now we're going to get into the scriptures to show that according to the scriptures. Okay, but where did this day come from? We cannot we cannot just erase this. We have to acknowledge it, and that's what we're doing. So it says, in the 10th day of the 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you. And that's what we're doing. That is why we come together. Okay? So that means get together. This is about the Day of Atonement. Okay? Which it starts tonight at evening. It's a Sabbath day. So any brother or sister that have not prepared yourself for the Sabbath day, whether it's fuel for your car, is food until tomorrow at evening, whatever it takes, lunch that you have to work if you're forced to work, then I would suggest that you go and take care of those matters, because it is a Sabbath day. And buying and selling this, you can't do that. Okay? So now, where do we stop at? We was in 27. It shall be a holy convocation unto you. All right, and you shall afflict your soul. So the affliction that Israel was doing was abstaining from food, abstaining from drink. And the reason why you would abstain from food and abstain from drink, because that is a self-affliction. That's something to where you will hurt yourself, and when you hurt yourself, you would be thinking about the sins that you committed, and you will be praying and you will be asking for forgiveness. Is this for tonight or last night? This is tonight. Miss Sheila, the reason why and so we don't squabble with people, the reason why there were people that was keeping it last night, because you got three things that's happening in the earth. You got a full moon is the new moon doctrine, and there's 2 lunar calendars, and they're a day apart. and they are a day apart. Okay, and so, but the essence behind this is that Israel is trying to keep it. Israel is trying to do it, and so as long as people are trying to do it, let them do it. Don't fight with them about it. It's better than us not doing it at all, because what's going to happen when the Father sent Christ? Everything is going to completely be done over and done right. And he's going to teach us and show us. He's going to hit the reset button. And then we all going to serve the Lord on one accord with one mind. Okay? Everybody going to have, Shalom, Sister Angie. Everybody going to say the same thing. Everybody going to have the same day. That's another wiles of the devil, to fight over this day and that day. And I know deep down inside, we're trying to do the best that we possibly can, but the truth is, it's all wrong. Every day is wrong. Everything that you're doing, I don't want to say everything, not committing adultery, not serving other gods, setting the Sabbath day aside in the society that you live in, that stuff is not wrong. But as far as this calendar days and stuff like that, Israel, nobody has kept the days. You know how long ago it was since Israel was in power and authority, and we kept our days? It's over 2,000 years. We spent over 3 centuries in blackness, straight amnesia, not even knowing who we were. So how you just gonna wake up one day, open up a book, and I ain't even talking about the scriptures, open up a book, and all of a sudden you on track? Come on. People wake up out of a coma and don't know what time it is. How you gonna wait? How you gonna, as a people, you gonna come to light consciousness after over 4 centuries? Now don't worry, it ain't working like that. And you ain't gonna persuade me. The Most High knows. He see what we're doing. He got us, and you could tell, by the Spirit. I hope it's not getting choppy now, brother. It should be fine. You could tell, by the Spirit that's in us, that the stuff that we're doing and the life that we're living is acceptable. If you have the Spirit to keep the commandments, and you have the Spirit to overcome your lusts and your battles, then you're doing the right thing. But if you still lying to yourself, and you still lying to others, and you still, getting over and trying to be slick, you don't have the Spirit. And yeah, you should question what you're doing. You should question what you're worshiping. But that's what this is all about. The atonement, it was all about. It was about forgiving Israel as a nation, so that so that we could move on. Because all the ceremonies that we went through, it did nothing to help us. But constantly there was a reminder of how to say you're sorry again and be a deadbeat. Israel, we were a deadbeat person, a deadbeat nation. With the offerings and sacrifices and in those days. Okay, so let's go to the book of Hebrews tonight. Ruda, what's up, brother? With me. Okay. Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 9. I'll read it and give it to you. So now it says, remember we're talking about the Day of Atonement, and I just blankly came out and said, no, it's a day of, it's no fast. Why? I'm going to read and show you. It says then, so in Hebrews 9, verily the first covenant had also ordinances. Well, you just finished yours. You finished an atonement through Moses, not through Christ. And we're going to show you the atonement of Christ. Of divine service and a worldly sanctuary. Okay? For there was a tabernacle made, the first one, the candlestick, the table, the showbread, which is called the sanctuary. So they had a big tent that they had, Most High had them to build, and they called that place the sanctuary. Okay. So now, and after the second veil, the tabernacle, which is called the holiest of all. Okay. Which had the golden censer. So now it's going to tell you the things that was inside of the holiest of all, the tabernacle. I'm in Hebrews 9:4. It says, and the ark of the covenant overlaid round about with gold, wherein was the golden pot that had manna, and Aaron's rod that budded. So Aaron had a stick. You know, like Christ said, no branch can bear fruit of itself. That means if you saw a limb off a tree, it's over. It's dead. You just killed it. And he used that as a similitude to where no man, neither can any man except you abide in me. So Yahweh Shah is teaching that. I in me and you in me. So it's Christ that makes us bring forth fruit. Nothing or nobody else. Yahweh Shah, our King, Lord, and Savior, the messenger from on high, that the Father sent to the Israelites. And he showed Israel the power of God by allowing Aaron's rod to bud by itself. That, it didn't rely on the tree. So that's similar to Israel can bring forth fruit through Christ without anything other than that. So Israel, we use the law of Moses as the tree, and we were the branches. But now when Christ comes, now he became that thing, and he showed us that we can live, you understand, without all of these ordinances of divine service that we thought was the way into the light. And he corrected us on that thing. And it says, so I'm in the last precept of Hebrews 9:4. It says, and the tables of covenant. So now remember, he's still inside. So we're going to take our journey. He's still inside the second veil, the holiest of all. And he's explaining and showing to you what's inside of there. And over it, the cherubims of glory, shadowing the mercy seat, of which we cannot now particularly. We can't speak particularly. Why? Because he wasn't there to see it. He just know that it was in there. The Lord obviously told him that it was in there. Okay? A lot of people, portray to know everything, but he said, now we cannot speak particularly about this thing. He can't give specific details about it. Okay, so now we're Hebrews chapter 9, going into the 6th verse. Now when these things were thus ordained, they were ordained at that time. The priest went always into the first tabernacle, accomplishing the service of the Most High. But into the second went the high priest alone, once every year, not without blood. So when do you know that the priest will go into the tabernacle once every year? When is that? That is the Day of Atonement. We got the precept Bible. Now it's right here, brother. All you got to do is humble yourself. It's right here. Once every year. You go to Exodus, the 30th chapter. It's going to tell you that, what this is talking about. As a matter of fact, let's go to Exodus, the 30th chapter. Exodus chapter 30 and verse 10. Read that.
Exodus chapter 30 and verse 10. And Aaron shall make an atonement upon the horns of it once in a year with the blood of the sin offering.
See that? That's the priest Aaron. He will make an atonement once in a year with the blood of the sin offering of the atonement. Read the next part.
Once in the year.
Once in the year. So it's saying the same thing. When we go back to Hebrews, the 9th chapter, it's saying the same thing. Hebrews 9 is about the Day of Atonement. That's all right, brother. Go ahead.
Shall he make atonement
Go ahead.
upon it throughout your
Now,
generation?
listen, he said he's going to do it throughout your generations. Think about that. Throughout your generations. But it's going to come upon a time when that's going to come to a halt. That's right. Israel, you have to accept it. So now, I got to explain to somebody earlier. You know how the scribes and Pharisees, they had the commandments, the knowledge of the commandments, and they was teaching the law of Moses and the commandments of God, but they didn't know Yahushua. And because they didn't know Yahushua of Nazareth, the Savior of the world, our Lord, Prince, and Savior, they were completely lost. And that's why the world during that time had to get preached Christ. Because they knew the law of Moses, they knew the way of Israel, but they didn't know Christ. They didn't know truth, and they didn't know grace, and they didn't know mercy, and they didn't know the extent of the Father. What the Father would allow and what they didn't, and what he didn't allow. All they had was ordinances that they were so geared in on that they couldn't see past it. Okay, so now, so it says throughout your generations. That means this is never ending, always lasting, from generation to generation. But when Christ came, what happened? That throughout your generation, now it stopped. It stopped when Yahushua came. Read the latter part.
It is most holy unto the Lord.
So Israel would look at it like, guess what? It is most holy. Okay, now let's go back.
Back to Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 7.
So, thank you. And it's now we're finna go into about the Messiah. Unto the second went the high priest along once every year, now without blood, which he offered for himself and for the errors of the people. Okay? The Holy Ghost, this signifying, we all know who that Holy Ghost is. That is the Father, Yahweh. That's the Creator. He is the one that signified. When you signify somebody, that means you let them know something. Let's look up the definition of signify. Yeah, I understand that there were people that were still fasting. That's just like there was people that was still doing animal sacrifices too after Christ. And that's why Paul had to teach in Colossians 2:16, let no man therefore judge you in what? In meat and in drink. What is he quoting? He's quoting Ezekiel. Because people, if they didn't do the sacrifices that was done away with, they would be frowned upon. Okay? So now, this is the definition of signify. It says to be an indication of, to mark a signal. Okay? To be an indication of. So some of the synonyms, mark, a signal, indicate the token. Okay, so now we're going to go back. So Romans 9 and verse 8. The Holy Ghost, which is the Most High, he's marking, he's indicating, he's signaling that the way into the holiest, because the whole purpose of the atonement was to try and create Israel into the holy people, the holy nation of people that he created us to be. And he was giving us ways to perform. Okay? It says, so, but the way into the holiest of all was not yet made manifest. So there's a way that was better than that atonement that we was doing. Okay? And that's what he's bringing out. It's written right here. While as the first tabernacle was yet standing. So now, once you read, now let's go back. Hebrews chapter 9 and verse, bear with me, 3. I know. After the second veil, the tabernacle. So the tabernacle was a different entry than the sanctuary. Go through the sanctuary, and then inside of there, that was a tabernacle. So the first tabernacle, so now let's go back to Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 8. All right. So now, verse 9. So the first tabernacle says, which was a figure for the time then present. So everything that was going on was for what? That time that was what? Then present. It says, in which were offered both gifts and sacrifices that could not make him that did the service perfect, as pertaining into the conscience. So everybody that was doing it never changed. Everybody that was doing it never changed. Every soul that kept the Day of Atonement, they never changed. It never changed. Verse 10, verse 9, Salakia. It says, the latter part, that could not make him that did the service as pertaining to the conscience. So what never changed about them? Their mind never changed. Because what was they doing? Well, sis, if you forced to work and you have to work, come on, this is a no-brainer. Don't get brand new on me. It's the same thing. Okay? To say that makes no sense. People that work for Esau and you gotta work, then you have to work. If you don't have to work, then, don't deter with that. You know what I'm saying? Neither quench the spirit. You should already know about the Sabbath and how to observe it. It's not gonna change from week to week. That's nothing new. Once you learn it, you got it. You gotta understand it. Once you learn it, it's always there. Okay? So now, as pertaining to the conscience, the Day of Atonement never fixed our people. You got people, they're going to wait all year, and they got their mind set on the Day of Atonement coming up. And on the Day of Atonement, they saying how sorry they are, you still going to smoke weed. Because the spirit ain't in you. You still in a fornicating relationship. I bet you go to bed. I bet you go back to bed. And you say you're Hebrew. You going to go right back to bed and you going to sleep with that woman or you going to sleep with that man. You got an addiction to nicotine? I bet you ain't throw your pack of squares away. I bet you didn't do that. But you're going to bark about the Day of Atonement. Get the hell out of here, man. What are you atoning for? What are you sorry for? You're going to fast and you're going to go right back and sin. You see, but it's not me that you playing with. You playing with the Father. You playing with the Most High. And that's who's going to judge you. And the same one that we ignore, that judgment seat of Christ, that's who you're going to have to sit in front of. And you know what's going to accuse you? The same laws that you omitted. That's what's going to accuse you. And you won't be able to change if you don't come back to the Messiah. You got to deal with Christ. He's the commander in chief. He's the ruler over Israel. You got to come back and you got to deal with that, brother. Okay? So now, verse 10. So it says, Hebrews 9 and 10, which stood only in meats and drinks. So now it appears that he's covering everything, and he is. But he ain't finished writing the Day of Atonement, because he's correcting all Israel. Because Israel is at this time, Israel, and Paul knows that. And who taught him this doctrine? That's a question. That's right. Where's that at? Get that for me out. Who taught him this doctrine? Bear with me.
Galatians
It is, it ain't. Galatians 1.
Galatians chapter 1, you want to start at 11? 1 to 12.
Galatians 1 and verse 11
Galatians chapter 1
and 11.
and 11. But I certify you, brethren, that the gospel which was preached of me is not after man.
Right, so Paul is saying, listen, the gospel, just like right now, y'all wondering like, yo man, what is this brother, where he get this from? Talking about no fasting on the Day of Atonement. What is this going on? Okay. Who taught you that? Who taught you to do that? Just like Paul, I certify unto you that the gospel which is preached of me is not after man. Read.
For I neither received it of man.
Right. Paul himself said, guess what? He didn't receive it of man. So, who told him to write Hebrews 9 and tell Israel that they're going to be doing away with offerings, and he's correcting the Day of Atonement, and now that they have to believe in Christ, and that was only one step, and it was only a shadow, but not the true image of what being forgiven and not sinning was all about. Who told him that? Not man. Okay, Galatians 1 and 11 it is, or 12, read.
For I neither received it of man.
Go ahead.
Neither was I taught it.
Neither was he taught it. Paul said, hey, I didn't get taught this. Go ahead.
But by revelation of Yahweh.
But by revelation of Yahweh. So Yahweh revealed it unto him. So if Yahweh revealed it unto him, who teaching this? Who bringing this out in Hebrews 9? Yahweh is. You should want to listen. You should not. You understand? You should want to listen. So now let's go back to Hebrews chapter 9. Hebrews 9 and 10, which stood only in meats and drinks and diverse washings and carnal ordinances imposed on them until the time of Reformation. So, but Christ being come. So that shows you that the time of Reformation was when Christ was going to come. But remember, we read in Exodus chapter 30 and 10 that it would happen from generation to generation. And why did the Father put it out there like that? Actually, who dealt with Israel then? Who was that angel that was over Israel then? That was Christ then. And so when Christ put it out there, he had to put it out there so Israel wouldn't stop doing it. But he knew that when he came himself, what would end up happening? That there would also be a change. And he would change it himself. And that's what he's doing. So now he's revealing it to his servant Paul, and now Paul is bringing it out what the will of the Father is that he got from Christ. We're reading it. But Christ being come, a high priest of what? Good things to come. Of a greater and more perfect tabernacle. So now, why did the Israelites go to the tabernacle that was inside the sanctuary and send the high priest with blood behind the second veil for forgiveness of their sins. But Yahushua did something better and greater. It says not made with hands. So the place that he went, no man built that. You got to understand the two different things. No man built that. So Israel is atoning today in 2018 like you're going into, you're forgetting about Yahushua, Christ, and you acting as if you're going into the tabernacle and you're sending the priest in. All of those other stuff, you omitted. You can't even do that. It's done away with in Christ. That is to say, not of this building. Check this out. Verse 12. Give you some meat to chew on. Neither by the blood of bulls, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood. See, the man said his own blood. Meaning he was killed. He was the lamb that was killed. The same way that we would take the sacrifice and we would kill it, and then he would take the blood into there. Christ is his own blood. He said he entered in once. So if he did it once, you think that if Christ was here, that he would do it again? He's going to die every year. 2019, I got to get killed. So his job wasn't to fast. His job was to sacrifice, to be sacrificed. So if he did it once, then that means that we can't do it over and over and over and over. It says, into the holy place, having obtained, check this out, eternal. That means never ending. That word is from generation to generation. Now he's putting a word to it. Eternal redemption. That means he's redeemed us. What did he redeem us from? From this thing that he's talking about. He redeemed us from sin. Redemption for us. So now, if he redeemed us from sin, if anybody has a problem or dispute with this, all you have to do is stop sinning. And once you stop sinning, you're going to understand the redemption, the eternal redemption from sin. Because that means you're not going to be smoking and drugging no more. You're not going to be lying and fornicating no more. You're not going to be stealing and arguing anymore. You're not going to be doing that. So if you're not going to be doing that, well, you're going to be sacrificing for sin. You're going to sacrifice for a sin that you didn't do? No, man. You're not going to do that. You're going to fast for something that you didn't do? No. Now there are situations to where throughout the year that are difficult, that Israel, that you might want to fast for. You could fast at any time. You could fast often as you want to. But fasting for this, Christ made the atonement for this. If you do that, what are you going to do about his atonement? It ain't no both of them. I'll choose the atonement of Christ any day. And it has nothing to do with because, I don't want to refrain from meat and drink. I came up fasting. I even had babies and little children fasting. I didn't even feed the beasts. So that ain't the issue. The issue is the scriptures. Like the Lord said in Matthew 17, hear ye him. This is my beloved son, in whom I please. Hear ye him. He didn't bring Moses on the scene and Elijah so that they could teach and correct us on the law and the prophet. He brought them on the scene to tell Christ about his descent down into hell, down into the grave, and his ascension to heaven. That had nothing to do with these scriptures. So now, Hebrews chapter 9 and 13. For if the blood of bulls and of goats and the ashes of a heifer sprinkling thee out clean, because this is all the things that went with that Day of Atonement. It sanctified to the purifying of the flesh. How much more shall the blood of Christ? What is the blood of Christ? You know, his life, his walk that he did. That is a bigger example than all the sinners that was around you that continue to sin over and over and over yearly. Everybody understand that? How much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit, meaning through God the Father, the Most High Yahweh, he offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works. So what did his life and his atonement do? Purge your conscience from dead works. The beast couldn't do that. Christ did that. And this was left intentional to see who's going to follow the Messiah and who's going to follow man. If you keep keeping the old atonement, you're following man. Purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God. And for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament, which by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressors that were what? Under the first testament. They which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a testament is, there must also of the necessity be the death of the testament. So since Christ brought in this newness of life, there had to be the death of this testament. Why? To show you that this is the extent that we to live in. And therefore he is the, what the scriptures say? He is the mediator of this new covenant. That's what testament is. It's a covenant. Verse 17. For a testament is a force after men are dead. So while Yahushua was living, he sacrificed. While he was alive, he had others to sacrifice. He did all of that. But once he died, all his teachings took over. Otherwise, it is of no strength at all. Why? What? The test of the living. Okay? That's the reason why, remember, they came to Moses and they brought him the woman that was caught in adultery. And they were still going off of, they wanted to destroy the sister because she got caught in the very act. And they said, Moses, according to the law, right? Right. So now, would they have been justified for putting her to death? The answer is yeah, they would have been justified for putting her to death. But then, what happened with Yahushua? What happened with Christ? What did he tell them? Right. So in all actuality, he forbid them from destroying. How you gonna forbid somebody from this? Get Leviticus 20 and 10. How you gonna forbid? This is written in the law. Read that, Leviticus 20 and 10.
Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10. And the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death.
Right. And if you stop somebody from doing this, what's going to happen with you? You could get put to death. That's right. You could be put to death. Deuteronomy chapter 13. Deuteronomy chapter 13 and verse 4.
Deuteronomy chapter 13 and 4.
Right.
Ye shall walk after the Lord your God, and fear him,
Right.
and keep his commandments,
Go ahead.
and obey his voice.
Go ahead.
And ye shall serve him, and cleave unto him.
Go ahead.
And that prophet or that dreamer of dreams shall be put to death,
Go ahead.
because he hath spoken to turn you away from the Lord your God.
Right. So if Christ, they could have had an occasion to put him to death for not executing the death penalty on that sister for the act of adultery. Go ahead.
Which brought you out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed you out of the house of bondage, to thrust thee out of the way which the Lord thy God commanded thee to walk in. So shalt thou put the evil away from the midst of thee.
Right. So now, from there, let's go to, remember, but what did he tell them? He pretty much corrected them, and they corrected themselves. He told them, you without sin, cast the first stone. So, but here's the legit of it. Let's go to St. John, the 3rd chapter. St. John chapter 3 and verse 1.
St. John chapter 3 and 1. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Yahushua by night and said unto him,
Listen.
Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher come from God.
So if they knew that he had come from the Most High, they also knew that they should listen to him. So they knew that he came from the Most High, and they took in regard the things that he was saying. All right. So now from there, go back to the 1st chapter, St. John chapter 1 and verse 17. Call it out.
St. John chapter 1 and verse 17. For the law was given by Moses.
Right. So now, what law? That law of you being destroyed for breaking the commandments. For the law was given by Moses. Go ahead.
But grace and truth came by Yahushua.
So now, let's get Romans chapter 6 and verse 14.
This is Romans chapter 6 and verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law.
Right, I'm looking for a page. Stop for a second. Romans 6:14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under the law. Remember, so Moses brought in laws, and now all of a sudden, Christ is doing what? Christ is making a change. But under grace. What do we read in St. John 1? What was that? 1:15?
Yeah.
That
117.
1:17?
Yes.
That truth and grace came in by this man.
Yeah.
So what law were we not under anymore? Go to Deuteronomy. Okay, I'll get it. Deuteronomy chapter 17 and verse 2. If there be found among you any within any of the gates which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman that have wrought wickedness in the sight of Yahweh thy power, in transgressing his covenant, Shalom says, Deuteronomy 17 and 3, and have gone and served other gods, worship them, either the sun, moon, or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have commanded not. I have not commanded. So now, even the act of adultery, and what do we read at? Leviticus 20 and 10. Continuing on. If it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and required diligence, and behold, it be true, and a thing certain, that such abomination is wrought in Israel, Then shalt thou bring forth that man or that woman which have committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even that man or that woman, and shall stone them with stones till they die. That's what the men tried to do with the sister when they brought, because she committed a sin that was worthy of death. Remember, the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Now, at the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. So now, if 2 people come up and they say that you was guilty of the act of adultery, you had to die. Flat out, you had to die. And the witnesses, you had to be the first ones to put in the death, because you're the ones that actually saw it. But you better be right, because if you're not right, then you're going to lose your life. So that's how serious it was. Now, but at the mouth of 1 witness shall he not be put to death. Okay, the hands of the witnesses shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So shall I put evil away from Israel. Now, lose that. Now, let's go back to Romans chapter 6 and verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you're not under the law. What law Israel is not under? The death law. So you didn't have to worry about getting put to death, but under grace. Grace is accompanied with what? Truth. You understand? Truth. What is truth? The laws. The laws. Honesty, sincerity. Grace has company. You understand that? So now, that shows you that the Father have entrusted Christ to do a job. And the job that he trusted Christ to do was to purge the conscience, which is the mind of the people of God, which is the Israelites. So the Day of Atonement, that didn't purge you, man. Israel thought you was purged, you climbed right back into sin. Yep. The very next, as soon as your family, you went right back to sin. Come on. So let's go back to Hebrews chapter 9. I just showed you the power of change, man. Change is written in the scriptures. I hope we understand it. Sometimes I can go to Isaiah 29. I can be like, see, it's right here. It's right here. I'm not going to argue with you. Okay? Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 9. Read that.
Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 9.
Stay yourselves.
Stay yourselves and wonder. Right. Cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine.
Right. They effed up. And they ain't even had no liquor. Why have our people messed up without liquor? Because sin, man. Yeah. Sin has got you bamboozled, man. Y'all don't understand that there are witches, witchcraft, demons, and all of that stuff that's behind sin. Seducing spirits, that's behind sin. Whispering in your ear. What do you think all the thoughts is? Somebody tell you to do something, your mind is answering already. Your mind is telling you to be rebellious, be stubborn, do this, do the opposite, do the same thing other than what this trusted person of man of the Most High is telling you to do. Spirits, witches. All right, go ahead.
They stagger.
They falling all over the place, man. Go ahead.
But not with strong drink.
Not with strong drink. What's got you all jacked up like that, man?
Right.
Sin. And see, most of the time, let me tell you something. A lot of us really, really try. Hold on, Israel. Don't go away. All right. I just wanted to make sure that the Wi-Fi was on. Most of us really, really try. But you know what our problem is? Our problem is repetitive sin. Yeah, repetitive sin. We sin. We ask for forgiveness. We try. We fight off sin. We change, but then what happens?
We go back to the sin.
We go back. We go back to sin. We let that one spirit, like say for instance smoking, okay? When you deal with smoking, you're dealing with witches, you're dealing with witchcraft. Even they show you on television, which is just some vision, and we think that it's their version, but the Most High allowed everything. Every king on this earth, God is over. He allows them to do things. He set up these kings. He allowed them to do these things. You understand? He created them. He could do whatever he wanted to do with them. Yeah, you his people, but guess what? Some of you still in sin. So now, dealing with the smoking and the witchcraft, and this is why you don't understand something when you think this thing is too hard for the Most High not to have you fasting on the Day of Atonement. So now, dealing with witchcraft. You see the smoke, the poof. You get over that. You don't know that it's got something to do with witches. You get over it. And then all of a sudden, some of you be like, I did, was what I'm talking, let's go to Matthew 12. I've been doing very good. You've been doing very good. Give me some time frame. Some of you out there that was once smokers. You smoke 2 months. You get over it for 2 months. You get over it for 3 months. Give me some time frames out there. Anybody? Time frame. Matthew 12 and 43.
This is Matthew chapter 12 and verse 43. When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man.
10 months. Uzziah said 10 months. So now, be careful out. The unclean spirit is gone out of you, and it's gone for 10 months. Okay? Go ahead.
He walketh through dry places.
Hey, I haven't smoked cigarettes in 20 years. Okay. Be careful. Okay? 3 years now. Absolute great. All of this is fantastic. Okay? So now, the longer, the stronger. The what?
The longer, the stronger.
The longer, the stronger. 3-4 months. Great. 4 years. Great. The longer, the stronger you'll be. Okay? You some of you brothers, you know, like Johnny, what's that? 3-4 months. Be careful. I just talked to somebody today that said, hey, 3 months, they fell off the wagon. They fell off the wagon. Okay? So now, when an unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places. This is true. This is true. Matthew 12:43, seek and rest. That means, hey, do you not know that Yahushua is actually telling you what's happening in the spirit world? You would be a fool not to listen. He's telling you how these creatures that God, these invisible creatures that his Father made, how they work and how they operate. Are you listening though? Are you listening? He said they going around looking for rest. They looking to invade somebody's body. You ever heard the movie of the invasion of the body section? No, not that. It's another. What's that one that Denzel played in where they just kept on jumping from body to body, body to body? Denzel Washington played in it. They just kept jumping from body to body. Time is on my side. Remember, he was singing that, man. There was a spirit that was singing that. Well, anyhow, somebody jump. Somebody come up with it. Somebody come up with it. So now, seek and rest. And it says, and find it none. Listen, falling. That's it. Falling. Y'all think that's true? Christ is talking about it right here in the Bible. Right here in the Word, he's talking about it. Time is on my side. That's right. Because he's going to live forever. Because he's going to jump and jump and jump. He's going to keep on. So now, that was Samuel Jackson? Okay. Anywho, Fallen is the name of the movie. That was Denzel. Was this Denzel? Somebody said Denzel. Stop it. So listen. But he don't find none. So all of you brothers that just got over the hump, a week, a month, 2 months, that's right, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. Hey, find it none. So don't nobody want to do what I want to do. That's true, that's possible. Read the next verse, verse 44.
Then he said,
Then that spirit will say, go ahead.
I will return into my house from whence I came.
I will return unto my house from whence I came. So now, Uzziah and the rest of you brothers and sisters out there that once smoked, we're using this as an example. I'm not saying that you are smoking. I'm saying it because, hey, we were not ashamed to confess our faults one to another. Okay? So he said, I will return into my house. What did this spirit call you?
A house.
He called you what? A house? What did this spirit just call you? My house.
My house.
My house. This got the nerve.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
He got the nerve. He said, my house. He called you his, man. Go ahead.
From whence I came out, and when he is come, he findeth it empty.
Right, meaning he found it empty. Go ahead.
Swept.
Right. So if he found it empty, meaning you're not giving place to nothing else. You ain't really doing nothing. And that's why some of you be all bright eyed and bushy tail and zealous. Ain't no uncleanness. Some of you, I get some of the reports from you like, yo man, I ain't messing with no girls. You know, I ain't hanging out with my cousins. Yo, I ain't going over there where I used to go. You stop covetousness. You stop stealing. You know, I ain't been lying. You got a full testimony. That's empty. That's good. And he found it swept. Meaning you found it clean. So you have not been sinning. Oh, you ain't been sinning, huh? All praises. And it might be hard for somebody to believe you're lying behind. Because you used to being low down and dirty. But you've been trying. And I give that to you. The Father will give that to you. But that don't mean that the Spirit ain't looking to come back to his home. Go ahead.
And garnished.
And he found it all garnished up. Meaning there's something else in place. When you garnish something, there's something else in place. What is the garnishment that's inside of your mind? Laws. So many laws and so many precepts and so much counsel that by itself, smoking weed, you're like, I ain't doing that.
Right.
I ain't doing that. You're like, nah, man, I got all of this to lose. But where does our problem come from, though? Read the next one.
Then goeth he
Mm-hmm.
and taketh with himself 7 other spirits.
So now he gonna come back like this. He gonna come back with 7 other spirits. You understand? And those spirits, they ain't just smoking. You understand? Money, lust, pride, vanity. Some of you think you're cute. I see why a lot of you sisters on Facebook, you stumble. You act like y'all fashion models or something. I see like 16,000 head shots, glamour shots. Bling, 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 bling.
Yeah.
And most of them, you're in the nastiest place in the house, the toilet. You're in the toilet. What the hell? You go to the bathroom to take a picture. Y'all do the most, man. So then you be wondering why am I all of a sudden fighting the fight? I was once cool. Now you think somebody cute. Now all of a sudden you're angry. Now all of a sudden you don't care. And you know what the end result gonna be? You know what the end result gonna be? You're gonna pick up that cigarette. You're gonna pick up that weed that you didn't get rid of. You know the stuff that you hid down in the bottom of the drawer because it was worth $35. You ain't gonna flush it. Now you pressure. Okay? Go to Ecclesiastes. No. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4. See, these are all the things that Yahushua came in and helped Israel with. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, and verse 12.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4 and verse 12. For the bewitching of naughtiness doth obscure things that are honest.
Right. You know, the law says that thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. That's what the law says. So spirits do what? The scriptures say the bewitching of naughtiness. The spirits deal with naughtiness. Okay? Deal with naughtiness. For the bewitching of naughtiness does what?
Obscure.
Do you know what it is to obscure? It has the ability, man. It has the ability to hide certain things from you. All right? Go ahead.
Things that are honest.
What do you think the honest things are? The commandments, man. Right. So why, when that sin is inside of you, when those drugs is inside of you, when that smoke is inside of you, it's downplaying the commandments. It's hiding the fact that you're supposed to be in the law, in the laws. It's telling y'all, man, that's from the earth. God made that. This is good. But remember, why don't you understand the scriptures? You drunk off the punch. All right? One more time.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 12. For the bewitching of naughtiness doth obscure things that are honest, and the wandering of concupiscence doth undermine the simple mind.
That's right. So it'll have you avoiding the scriptures.
Right. Yeah.
Man, it'll capture you.
Right.
You'll be mentally put in bondage by them spirits, man. Any type of sin that you're doing, it'll capture you, man. And you won't even know it. And time will get away from you. The spirit will turn you into an addict, brother, sister. That's what the spirits will do. And before you know it, time, man, will get away from you. You won't even realize that you have drifted away from the truth, from the scriptures. All the time this spirit is obscuring the truth from you, you drifting, man, away from the Most High and Yahweh Shai, man. You drifting, you just like floating out, like you was floating off the sea, man. Shalom, brother. Like you floating and drifting away. And then next thing you know, if the Lord ever tell that spirit that's enough, it get up off of you, man, and now you're not dizzy no more, you're gonna realize how much you are messed up.
Yeah.
You're gonna bewail yourself, man. You're gonna be wanting to kill yourself. You're gonna be like, damn, I really messed up, man. I've gone too far. Then you're gonna look in the window. That's the people that are hooked on drugs and have become addicts, they don't realize that they stink. They don't realize that they are dirty. They don't realize that their fingernails are not clean. They don't realize that their shoes, that they probably ain't been off of their feet in how many days? You should take a bath every day. They don't realize that they don't even have a damn toothbrush because drugs have captured them, man. So Christ solved all of that, man. And he ain't just words in a book. Christ's epistle is spiritual, man. It's the cleaning and purging of the mind, the conscience, man. And if you believe, then that spirit that the Most High gave to him, called the Comforter, he gonna give to us. And we're gonna start understanding how to live in this earth. And we're gonna use these precepts as a guide on what to do and what not to do. But we also gonna be able to come on a higher level of executing these things to the point of application to where we don't return back into former sin.
That's right.
And that's the difference between Yahweh Shai and the atonement of Christ and the once a year sacrifice and atonement that we did. We ain't returning back into the former sins. We not committing adultery no more, man. Once you stop smoking drugs, you done with it for eternity. You've been delivered from that, man. You got the victory because you understand that it's damaging everything and it's setting the course terribly off. All right? So, Isaiah, let's finish that. Isaiah chapter 29. Did we finish Matthew?
Matthew 12. But that's what we still from.
Okay, so is it needed? Matthew 12?
12 and 45. Yeah. It's okay. I wanted to add something to what you said too.
Okay. Matthew 12 and 45. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Because the brother, he just mentioned on, how not. He just gave the remedy on how not to drift off and how not to get bewitched with the sins and the things that we would, the lusts and the devices that we have. He said how we gotta keep elevating and keep learning from Yahweh Shai and applying. But that comes from dealing with our teachers, right? Learning from our instructors, our elders, and also being instructed and keeping the commandments. Because right here, even where we started from with this, in Matthew 12, how that spirit gets you with those 7 other spirits that's stronger than the one that left, is because complacency. You know what I'm saying? The scriptures say, when you read 1 Peter 5, to be sober and vigilant. Because Satan, as a roaring lion, walking about seeking whom he may devour. So all these things that we went through in Wisdom of Solomon, right? You know what I'm saying? And then stemming from here in Matthew 12, that's how it gets you. To where you ain't dealing with the things that you put off, but because you're complacent and not being sober, not learning, not being instructed, the thing that spirit bring back to you that you wasn't minding, like the brother gave some examples, like money, right? Like lust, like that. Once you fall for that, the floodgate is open. Now, the spirit that you had a problem with and every other spirit is going to come back in. See? So it's a process, you know what I'm saying, that you got to avoid. You got to avoid that process by staying vigilant and sober and learning and being taught while you applying.
Right. All right. So, so did you finish the precept?
Yeah. Matthew 12 and 45.
So we're in Matthew chapter 12 and verse 45. And this is the importance of dealing with Christ. Because dealing with Christ, you still got to keep commandments. You still got to follow the laws. And now you have to follow them with the obedience of the scriptures. Because if not, then the spirits that we're talking about, they're going to invade your pride. They're going to invade your premises, man. Because they already said they think it's their house. That's why we got all these bad habits like lying and stealing and fighting and stuff like that. And you let these spirits get inside of you, man, they're going to, like I said before, they're going to cause you to stray away. And spirits see that, and they're going to persuade you to, further and further, to come closer to them. And that's why, Israel, you get so deep and caught up into sin. And if it's a bad relationship, and it now it's got you calling it love, and what's love? The keeping of the Lord's commandments. But to a spirit that's on you, you think affection is love. You think love is, paying the bills. And you think love is compassionate. Love is the commandments, man. Love is when somebody know God and they're going to do right by you because of the Christ's sake, man. As a human being, that's love. They're going to respect you. They're going to talk to you right. They're going to, deal with you like they deal with themselves. They're going to consider you like they will consider themselves. That's love. You understand? It's not the hole in your flesh or size matters. It's not that. That's not love, man. Love is the keeping of the commandments. All right? So now, as these bad spirits, man, like I said, they persuade you to come to them. The further you come, the closer to them, the further away from God. And you don't realize how far away that you drifted, man, until you wake up from that spell. Then you be all jacked up. So, the spirits try to obscure, man. They try to hide. You get these spirits on you, that's why you in sin. You get these spirits on you, whether it's a sexual demon, a smoking demon, a lying demon, a fighting demon, whatever spirit. These spirits know that the sin is so wicked. It's going to hide the law from you, man. It's going to make you think ain't nothing wrong with it. Meanwhile, while you living in a conscious state, what's really happening? While you under the spell of these evil spirits like smoking and drinking and fussing and fighting. What's really happening in the conscious world, in the real world? Your life is falling to pieces. It's falling to shambles. Inside of your mind, everything is in tune. You're not caring that you straight up stink. You're not caring, you reek of marijuana. You reek of cigarette smoke. You're not caring about that. You're not caring how your appearance is, man, that you moving and grooving like a lie, like a nigga off the street, like some hoe. You're not caring about that. Your husband is like, yo, baby, you straight look hoish. You're not caring about that. So you on a spell But in the real world, your life is falling to pieces. Look at your husband. He like finna leave. Look at the body. The body is looking at you like, wait a minute. Your relatives, your family, your job is finna fire you. In the real world, everything is falling in. But to you, in your detached, deranged mind that's under a spell, everybody is tripping. Because they don't let you lie to them. Because they not going for your shenanigans. Riff Raff. This is what's being under the spell of demons, spirits happen to you, man. This is why it's so important to deal with the Messiah. Because he ain't about just letters on a page, man. He is about the purging of the mind and the cleansing of the mind. But you got to be obedient unto it in order for it to happen. How do we get these spirits to leave us alone? You got to resist them. You got to resist them. You can't do it by yourself. No, that ain't a fight that you can fight by yourself. It don't matter what sin it is. You cannot be so ashamed to talk to your elders, male or female, about your problems and about your sin, and then come into the body of Christ, which consists of members that have people that have experienced those things that you've been through, and then let them be your friend so that they can always coach you and talk you off the edge. Because the spirits that are strong, that they already feel that your house is their house. They got to hold you accountable, man. And when they holding you accountable, you won't have to give an account to this brother or to this sister. You are most likely to listen to somebody that you can see, opposed to somebody that you only hearing. You only hearing that spirit. You're not seeing no spirit, but you seeing that brother. And that's the reason why we got to hold one another accountable to the point to where we let you know, man, I'm sorry, I love you to the moon, but if you do this, it's over. Do y'all understand what's being said? Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 5, man. Israel, you got to hold, I want to say check, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to go hood. You got to check your man sometime. Sisters, you got to check your girl sometime. You got to tell them. Because I'm driving down the street with young blood today, and we see some woman, and she all butched and diked out, and the first thing I said is they got like that because ain't nobody checked them. When I grew up, being younger, Israel, if you was a sodomite, you got your ass kicked. Excuse my language. They whooped you. They used to call it fag bashing. And there was a crew of people that just went around, they just looked around, and if you was fag, they beat you up. I'm not condoning that. Homosexuality was not something that was allowed. You couldn't be out. That's why they called it in the closet. Ain't no closets no more. Wasn't no dykes. If they was, they got dealt with, man. They got beat up. The problem is, right now in Israel, we got to correct each other. We cannot condone and suffer sin. 1 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 9, it says, I wrote unto you in an epistle not to keep company with fornicators. What does that mean? That means, this is your brother. He digging out the women. You know he's sleeping with these girls. And he ain't giving account. You ain't checking them. You ain't correcting them. You say, yo, brother, I understand that you young, that you knew that it's true. Guess what? You got to repent of that. This is one warning right here. You ain't got to be like threatening, oh, this is one warning. You like, yo, you got to repent of this or the Father going to judge you. He come around, he do something else. A woman is involved. Yo, brother, check this out. Now you got to show him the scriptures. After the what? First and second admonition, reject. Yo, brother, you going to have to leave. If you do something like this ever again, me and your friendship is coming to an end, brother. Nobody is holding Israel in this truth accountable. Yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous. You see a brother that's all about himself, you're going to have to correct this brother. Extortioners, idolaters, for them must you needs go out of the world. That means you're going to get put out. So who's holding who accountable in this truth? For I have written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother be a what? A fornicator. I know that this is going, I'm hearing, I don't know nothing. I'm hearing, it is reported that a lot of these brothers are what? Committing adultery. Picking up these women that have been dealt with in this truth with other men. They're committing adultery and fornicating. Some of them are just sleeping with women just to get their rocks off. This is my wife. This is the wife. This is my third wife. So if he's doing that, or covetous, or an idolater, or a reller. What is a reller? This brother standing out on the street corner, straight disrespectful, straight cussing people's out, straight discouraging them. That's what a reller is, man. That's to show bitter, that's to scorn and to show bitter resentment. You cannot show bitter resentment because your people in sin, man. You can only edify. You're supposed to be a teacher of things. You're supposed to inform them. Yo, this is what the law says. This is what we're not to do. This is what we're supposed to do, brother. Guess what? Now go do it, brother. Okay, more power to you. I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. Not I'm against you. The prophets of God ain't never been against the people. They always been for the people. So if any brother is doing that, or a drunkard, or an extort, what's a drunk? Somebody always drinking. Always drinking. Cup. They video cup. Cup. Every flick they taking, you's a drunkard. You always drinking, you are drunken. You're supposed to correct that, man. Or an extortioner. What's an extortion? You taking people's money. You taking people's money, man. You killing the people. With such a one, know not to eat. Who's correcting people? Yeah, who's correcting them? Nobody is correcting them. You see? All these are spirits that's inside of Israel. And guess what? They do this, they gon' fast. And after they fast, they gonna do it again. They gonna do it again because that's not the atonement of Christ. That's the atonement of Moses. They're gonna wake up and they're gonna do the exact same thing. Guaranteed 100%. Okay? So now, let's lose that. How do we get rid of these spirits? You got to resist the devil. The scriptures say, resist the devil, and he'll flee. Okay? And how do you resist? We talked about just dealing with one another. So now let's get back to Isaiah 29. Because I could show you this, but I can't make anybody do it. Make anybody believe it. You, the Most High, has got to show you this thing here. So this is, if it was so, if we needed to fast, I'll be like, yo, brother, this is fast. It's fast, but it's not saying that. I've done that before. I've done that before. For years, I've done that. Starved out. Starved children, the beasts, everything. Okay? Isaiah 29 and verse 10. For the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep. A lot of people have a spirit of deep sleep. You won't see Hamashiach Yahushua, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus. You won't see Christ, and you won't see his teachings. Okay? And have closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers and the seers have be covered. All those that teach you, they sleep, man. They sleep. Christ tell them, don't cover their head, they cover it anyway. Christ tell them, he that married her which is put away doth commit adultery, they take the woman anyway. Think it's justifiable because she been in the truth 6 years. She been in the truth 6 years, got 3 little kids, and now all of a sudden she's available. Where the scriptures at? Come on. And there ain't no scriptures. And they see it's somebody that's crying, playing the victim. She made a choice. She got to live with it. You sisters out there, keep your legs closed. You're gonna make a choice that's gonna either make or break you. You got one chance. You got one chance. You better use it right. Y'all show the video. You better use it right, man. Okay. So now, verse 11, and the vision of all is become as unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned. Look at the difference. And verse 11, Isaiah 29 and 11, a vision of all is become unto you. What vision? What to do? A vision is something that Israel you're supposed to do, right? It says, as the words of a book that is sealed, and which men deliver to one that is learned. So you will learn. But they deliver this book to you, and they say, read this, I pray thee. And he say, I cannot, for it is sealed. Man, I don't understand. Yeah, that's why you don't understand. Okay? So now, let's go back to Hebrews chapter 9. Okay, Hebrews chapter 9 and verse, I guess it was 18. It says, whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood, for when Moses had spoken every precept to all the people according to the law, he took the blood of calves and of goats with water and scarlet wood, hyssop, sprinkled both the book and all the people. So he dashed it everywhere. The book, tabernacle, the altar, the people. They had blood all over them to make them what? To make them one. Okay? Saying this is the blood of the testament which God have enjoined unto you. So if he did that with them, then what did he do with Christ? This is something separate. They're not mixed together. The Old Testament and New Testament is not mixed together. Okay? So now, moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry, and almost all things are by the law purged with blood. Meaning that anything that you did wrong, that's why it says almost all things. Okay? Because there were certain things that a sacrifice didn't cover. Like we read, adultery. You can't sacrifice and clean adultery. Idolatry. You couldn't sacrifice and clean idolatry. That's why it says almost all things by the law are purged with blood. That's the sacrifice. And without shedding of blood, it's no what? Remission. Okay? Meaning forgiveness. It was therefore necessary that the patterns of things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things themselves with better sacrifices than these. Okay, so what are the heavenly things? It's referring to the Israelites. For Christ is not entered into the holy places made with hands. To that tabernacle, that once a year, Christ didn't go in there, which are figures of the truth. So the tabernacle that the priesthood went in for the Day of Atonement was a figure of the truth. It was an example, a carnal, earthly replica of what Yahushua would do. So like they went into the tabernacle, Yahushua went into the tabernacle. They went into one made with hands that they built. Yahushua went into something that wasn't made, that wasn't built by man. Okay? So now in Yahushua, do we revert back into the thing that was built and made by hands? The answer is no, and that's what I'm preaching unto you. So it says, but into heaven itself. You see? Now to appear in the presence of God for us. So that's what the Levitical priesthood had did. They went to appear, you understand, in the presence of the Most High during that time. But now that our high priest is here, he would went even deeper, man. He went inside. He went levels to this thing. He went into the spirit world. When Yahushua died, you know, when they put him to death doing Passover, and they put him to death, and he was gone 3 days and 3 nights, that's where he went for Israel, for an atonement for Israel. But it says, verse 25, nor yet that he should offer himself often. So he's not going to offer himself often. As the high priest entereth into the holy place every year. See how this is still on Day of Atonement? With blood of others. The high priest did that. Christ did it. Who are we with? The Levitical priesthood or Christ? We're with Christ. For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. So since he created everything, since the earth was built, that means every year Christ would have to die. But now once, in the end of the world, have he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. So if he put away sin, why is there a remembrance? Why are we trying to remember all of the sins that we committed this day? Why are we scrounging up the sins? And one of the greatest sins that we commit in this earth is hatred towards one another. When he gave us the commandment, said, a new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another. So no greater love have no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his brother. So he taught us. You understand? He just didn't give us words. He didn't set a sinful example. He set a righteous example. And we didn't have that before. How do we know that? Because he taught us and he told us that the scribes and Pharisees were hypocrites. They did not have love one for another. They was covetous, only concerned about themselves. How do we know that? Because they let the Romans infiltrate and take over the nation. That's a difference right there. You think they lied down their life for their people? No, man, they gave up their life and decided to be servants opposed to rulers. When God called them and told them and chose them that they were the greatest people upon the face of the earth, they said, no, we have no king but Caesar. So I'm not following them, man. And I don't suggest that you follow the Levitical order or priesthood. I suggest you follow Yahushua the Christ. Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 27. And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this, the judgment. So Christ was once offered to bear the sins of many. How many times? One time, man. And unto them that look for him, Because everybody ain't gonna look for him. Shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation? What does that mean? Unto them, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time. Is that saying at the end of the world in the resurrection? Tell me what you think. Take a stab at it. So Christ was once offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation. Take a stab at it. Come on, Yash.
It's going into repentance. Like Christ going to appear to everyone that not going according to the Levitical order, that they believe in the Son of the Most High, that walked the earth perfectly and died for the sins of Israel and resurrected the third day and ascended on the right hand of the Most High. So when they come to, whether it's in prayer, they come to the disciples, they desire to learn and they want to work out their salvation, Christ going to appear to them in spirit. He going to give, Christ going to deal with them and give them his Holy Spirit to now walk towards salvation and to receive eternal life.
Right. So we understand that. So he said that because we believe in Yahweh Shai, you understand, he's going to appear unto us. And him appearing unto us, the spirit that he gives to us in his appearance ain't going to be a sinful nature. You understand? He's going to teach us how to overcome these things, because this is teaching us how to purge our conscience from dead works, and not just to be a mouthpiece, a bird, a parrot quoting precepts. You understand? And you only get this gift for being committed and being dedicated and walking, you understand, and walking in this truth. Okay, if you don't walk in the truth, then, he will appear unto you sin. Because that means you're going to be hating the things. Christ is known as an austere man. It's like you ever had somebody to tell you that you had to do this or you had to do that, and then in your mind you're like, why do I have to do that? I don't want to do that. To you it's sin. So if you keep the commandments and through faith in Christ, then everything that the Lord bring unto you, you ain't going to be looking at it like it's a sinful thing. But if you break the commandments and you don't commit and you have bad habits and you don't crucify the flesh, then as you learn this Bible, you're going to be learning that these things are a sin unto you. Just like you're not supposed to look at you're not supposed to look at just like this Day of Atonement. And the scriptures is bringing out how the Father had received the atonement of Christ. Let's get that in Romans. And 15. Romans chapter 5, no, not 15. There, Romans 5 and start at verse 8.
This is Romans chapter 5 and verse 8.
Right, because people is going to look at this as sin. Like they're going to look at you, like you in sin. Because you're not fasting. Go ahead.
Romans 5 and verse 8. But God commended his love toward. But God commended his love toward us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Much more then, being now justified by his blood.
Right. So now Israel is justified by what? By Christ's blood. Meaning because he died. Go ahead.
We shall be saved from wrath through him.
Right. So we're going to be saved from what wrath? Remember, before Christ, if you did not keep it, if you did not afflict your souls, the judgment was death. That is the wrath. You understand that? That was the wrath. Okay? So now, through faith in Yahushua, he bring this out unto you. This ain't gonna be sin. You're not gonna be questioned like, am I in sin? Because a lot of people, you're wondering, like I'm telling you, you don't have to fast. You're like, man, am I in sin? You like straight but questioning. And I understand your dilemma because you haven't been taught this way. You're like, am I in sin? So he said, I'm appearing to you a second time, yet without sin unto salvation. You know, I'm gonna take you to the salvation of God. You understand? And when I come to you, you know, you're not going to be looking at me like I'm in sin. Because he has to, you know, he has to not contradict or go against, but he has to come on a greater level than what you've been taught before, used in the scriptures. Just like the woman, the adulterous woman, how he didn't put her to death. But the law says that she had to be put to death. You understand that? Right. So, you know, they thought that Yahushua was in sin. Even as he walked and they ate on the Sabbath day corn. And they viewed that, you know, as something that was against the law to pick the corn. Because you should not go out in the field and find it. But as they walked, they picked the corn because they were hungry. You understand? And so he had to use the example of David, how David ate the shewbread. That was only for the priests. Was David a priest? The answer is no. He's from the tribe of Judah. So why is he eating the bread that was only for the priesthood, which was forbidden? And the judgment there for the holy things was death. So Christ was out of necessity trying to explain to them grace and mercy and a higher level of understanding the things that was given unto our foreparents. Instead of him appearing unto us that when he bring this understanding out that is sin, he's appearing unto us to bring us to salvation. And you're not to look at these precepts, this understanding as, oh, that's sin. Because that's not the intention of it. All right? So now, where'd you stop at?
We're in verse 10.
Verse 10, for when we were enemies, we were reconciled. Now, verse 9, much more. Verse 9, Romans 5 and 9, much more then, now being justified by his blood. So Israel, we are justified by Christ, right? We shall be saved from wrath through him. Verse 10, read that.
For if, when we were enemies, we were reconciled to God by the death of his Son, much more, being reconciled, we shall be saved by his life.
Right. So now, being saved, being reconciled, meaning being brought back to the Father. Israel is saved by the life of Christ, by the life of Christ. What is the life of Christ? His walking in the law, statutes, and the commandments. Go ahead.
And not only so, but we also joy.
But we
in
what?
God.
We got to slow this down. Listen to it.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
And not only so, but we also joy.
But we also joy. So that means that what you finna read and what you going through, you should be happy. You happy. You understand? What is this referring to? This is still referring to the justification of the Israelites by the blood of the Messiah. Okay? And not looking at it, okay, as some form of sin. Go ahead.
In God, through our Lord Yahushua, by whom we have now received the atonement.
Right. So the Father, the Most High, accepted. Instead of it being an atonement every year, once in the end of the world. And the Father received that atonement through Yahushua. And we to be glad that the Most High forgave Israel as a nation. But what is it that we're supposed to do? We're supposed to come unto this understanding day by day. We're supposed to come to this understanding. Okay? Go ahead.
Verse 12. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin. And so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. For until the law, sin was in the world. But sin is not imputed when there is no law.
Stop. Verse 12. Wherefore, by one man sin entered into the world, and death, because of that sin, by sin. And so death passed upon all men. And so since death was passing upon all men, our whole objective for the Day of Atonement was to be trying to be reconciled back to the Father. And the Most High gave us a means of that. For that, all have sinned. Everybody, whoever was in sin, they was doing it. Okay. But once a year, everybody did it. For until the law, sin was in the world. What law? For until the law, sin was in the world. What you say?
Atonement.
Okay. Right. Okay. But sin is not imputed where there is no law. Okay. So he take it away. For until the law, sin was in the world. Verse 14, it says, nevertheless, death reigned from Adam to Moses, even over them that had not sinned, after the similitude of Adam's transgression. For who is the figure of him that was to come? But go ahead, verse 15.
But not as the offense, so also is the free gift. For if through the offense of one many be dead, much more the grace of God, and the gift by grace.
Right. So for if through the offense of one many be dead. So when Adam and his wife sinned and set an example, and it caused the Spirit of the Most High to adjust, it says much more the grace of God. So even more than that is the grace of God. So for us to count one another, oh, you in trouble for doing this and you in trouble for doing that. No, because the grace of God justifieth and sanctifieth the unclean and covereth the sins of the transgressors. Okay? It says, and the gift by grace. Okay? Meaning, what is grace? Grace is an opportunity to change and get your life together. All right? Which is by what? One man. Yahushua, whom the world calls Jesus. Yahushua Christ have abounded unto many. Go ahead.
And not as it was by one that sinned, so is the gift. For the judgment was by one to condemnation, but the free gift is of many offenses unto justification. For by one man's offense death reigned by one, much more they which receive abundance of grace and of the gift of righteousness shall reign in life by one, Yahushua. Therefore, as by the offense of one, judgment came upon all men to condemnation.
Right. Therefore, as the offense of one, judgment came upon all men to justification. Go ahead.
Even so, by the righteousness
Even
of...
so, you got to slow it down. All right. Because everybody don't understand at the same. Sometimes, so I know I was reading fast, so that's my bad. But some things, even so, because you got to make sense to them. They don't really understand it. Even so, by the righteousness of one. Because now what we're trying to do is we're trying to persuade you to not look at the fast or not fasting, and that the Father have received the atonement of Yahushua as the reconciliation of the world, the nation of Israel, back to Him. And so here it's saying, even so, by the righteousness of one. So that's Christ. Go ahead.
The free gift.
Right, the free gift. So now you have received this gift, or you qualifying for it. Go ahead.
Came upon all men.
Right, it came upon all men who believe. Go ahead.
Unto justification of life.
Right. So who is this? Who is justifying your life? The Father is. So if He's justifying your life, who can take that away from you? No man can take that away from you. Go ahead.
For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so by the obedience of one shall many be made righteous. Moreover, the law entered, that the offense might abound. But where sin abounded, grace did much more abound.
Right, so do we understand that? Like physically, we know the scriptures and the precepts. And once these laws entered into us, the offense, it came to life. It was like, wow, I didn't know that this was like that. But once we found out, but where sin abounded, meaning when it came, the grace of God, the Most High, it came and it more abounded. Why did the grace of the Lord have to abound? Why would the grace of the Lord have to abound? Because when somebody is in sin, how do they feel? They feel condemned. When they're in sin, they feel condemned. Especially if they want to, but sin has power over them. Sin has power. Sin have dominion over you. Like jump over to Romans 6:14. Read that.
Romans chapter 6 and verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you.
It's easy to say but do. So just imagine sin does have dominion over you. You can't stop smoking. You in a relationship to where you feel obligated. You can't break it. It's going to take something. It's going to take the act of betrayal for you to break it. All right? And the Most High will allow it to happen. Read verse 16.
Verse 16. Know ye not that to whom ye yield yourselves servants to obey, His servants ye are to whom ye obey.
So people have to live with that. They like, man, I am yielding myself a servant. I give place to the say. I give place to the devil. You got people that'll flat out be like, Satan is on me. You could correct them and say, what spirit is that? Is that the spirit of the Most High or is the spirit of Satan? And then they have to give it up. And they say, well, the spirit of Satan. And so they understand the spirit of Satan. We dealt with that. That's Deuteronomy 17, Uzziah. We went over verse 14. Okay? But we'll go through it again. So now, we was at verse 16. No, you're not to whom you yield yourself servants to obey his servants. Ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death. So who's the author of sin? Satan. He's trying to get you to sin. Right? So if you do that and you're going to end up dead, you got people that deal with that, man. They digest it. Because they don't know, when do I take the book literal? No problem. Did I take the book literal? Do I take it literal? Because if I take it literal, I'm a dead duck. Should I believe in it? Is God going to forgive me? But this is, sisters, like this is my baby's daddy. You got 2 children by him. He the weed man. You could be a chosen vessel of the Lord. You trying to be in the truth, keep smoking in the bed. He's pulling you down. The brothers is teaching and saying it ain't supposed to be like that. That's all. He ain't never changed and he don't believe in it. He atheist. He's God. So you between a rock and a hard spot. What are you doing in a situation? You have to ask yourself that. So you keep, and it's pull you out the spirit to the point to where it's got you sinning. And you have to ask, well, what spirit is that? Is that the spirit of the Most High, or is that the spirit of Satan? And they have to say that. So people have to live with that, man. They have to say that, man. They say it. But sin ain't supposed to have dominion over you. So now, we're going to come back to 14 for Uzziah, but let's go back and finish this. Where did you stop at? Verse 20. Moreover, the law entered. So Romans 5 and 20. Moreover, the law entered that the offense might abound. But where sin abounded, grace did much more abound. So every place that you find yourself in sin, when it says grace did much more abound, what is that grace that's abounded much more? Is it let me just keep smoking until the pound is gone? Let me keep, my little trick daddy. You a female, you got this trick daddy. You understand? You got this older guy. With the trick daddy is sugar daddy. Sugar daddy, you got this sugar daddy. You understand? Some of you brothers, you got this young thing. Was it PYT? Mm-hmm. PYT, pretty young thing. You in sin. What do you do if you're in these situations? But because it says right here, we're at Romans 5 and 20, and that's in the New Testament. But where sin abounded, man, grace did much more abound. So I'm sinning here, grace coming up. Grace got me. I'm sitting here, grace coming on up, grace got me. So I can sell my $20 rocks because grace got me. Grace do have you, but you cannot continue to hold on to those sins. You understand? License to sin. Go to Ecclesiasticus 15. Now I'm going to show you how that grace got you. Ecclesiastes 15 in verse 18, 17, 16, 14, 13. Ecclesiastes 15 and 13, the Lord hated all abomination. So first of all, grace got you. So if you doing something that's wicked, you're going to be hated. And he going to leave grace out there. And that's something that you might not ever heard before. Well, how does God hate you, but he left grace out there? Can anybody answer that? I'll just tell us so we for time constraint. Remember? No, I'm going to show it to you. Go to Matthew chapter 5. Very quickly. I just wanted to back that statement up so you can visually set your eyes on it. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 45.
Matthew chapter 5
And 44.
And verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies.
Come on.
Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you.
Come on.
And persecute you.
Go ahead.
That ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven.
Go ahead.
For he maketh his sons who rise on the evil
Be the ones he hates
and on the good.
and the ones he loves. He maketh the sun to rise on the ones he hates and the ones he loves, and send it rain on the just and on the ones that he don't like. You understand?
Okay.
So now, so grace will be out there, and that's what you don't understand. And he'll still be hating, and you'll be in sin, and he'll be hating it. If you don't take advantage of the opportunity of grace, you only doom yourself. Ecclesiastes in the Apocrypha chapter 15 and verse 13. The Lord hated all abomination, and they that fear God love it not. So that's why a lot of you brothers and sisters, you in sin, and because sentence is not executed speedily upon you, you set your heart fully to be sin. Verse 14. Read it.
Verse 14. He himself made man from the beginning and left him in the hand of his counsel. The Father, son of Adam, he made Adam and he gave Adam the laws. If thou wilt to keep the commandments and to perform acceptable faithfulness, he hath set what? Fire and water before you. That's life and death. That's liberty and freedom, right? Stretch forth thy hand unto whether thou wilt. Before man is set life and death, and whether him like it, him shall be given him. Okay? So whatever one you like is going to be given unto you, right? For the wisdom of the Lord is great, and he is mighty in power, and beholding all things, meaning he sees everything, right? Okay, now, and his eyes are upon them that fear him, and he knoweth every work of man. So he knows that if you in sin, where sin is, grace did abound. Sin, you sin up here, grace did abound up there. Oh, he knows that you playing games like that. But grace up here is an opportunity for you to make a difference for yourself. It's not an opportunity for you to just continue in that sin. Although you might live 2 years or 10 years in that same sin. All right. Verse 19. And his eyes are upon them that fear him, and he knoweth every work of man. He hath commanded no man to do wickedly. So he's not allowing you to continue to do the wrong thing. Neither hath he given any man what? License to sin. What's another word for license? Permission. Neither do he give his teachers permission to tell you it's okay. Stay in that negativity. Stay in that sinful situation, although grace is there. Now go to Titus chapter 2. Titus chapter 2 and verse 11. Got it? Yes. This is Titus chapter 2 and verse 11. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men.
All right. So the grace of God that appeared unto all men, the grace of God that bringeth salvation. Grace is a spirit that's invisible. Grace is a spirit that's invisible. So how did it appear? Read.
Teaching us.
Right. Teaching us. So your teachers brings forth the grace of God. Your teachers bring forth the grace of God. Your teachers bring forth the grace of God and show it to you, explain it to you, and tell you that you don't have permission to continue in that you have to repent, that you have to change. You got to do something about your life. Yes, you living in that sin for weeks, for years. You've been years, some of us been decades in sin. I don't mean you're supposed to keep doing it, because at the end of your life, when it's time to judge you, the books are going to be open and every man is going to receive according to his works. And just because you did not believe does not mean that you will not be judged to eternal damnation. You are going to get the axe swung at you. You're going to get judged. When you read Romans 2:15, it tells you that the hearers are not going to be justified. Okay? So now we'll go there after this. Teaching us that denying ungodliness. So what does grace do? It gives us an opportunity and it teaches us to deny ungodliness. So where your wickedness was up here and the grace of the Lord abounded more, it's going to teach you up here on how to get out of that sin that you've been stuck in. And worldly lust. Go ahead.
And we should live soberly.
Right, that we should live what? Soberly. Not drunk. You understand? Not intoxicated. But we should live soberly. That means very wisely and very smart. And not deceived with spirits and demons and stuff like that that seduce us to give place to the lust of our flesh. You gotta live smart, soberly. Go ahead.
Righteously.
Right, you should live righteously. What is righteously? The laws. Go ahead.
And godly.
And you must live godly. Go ahead.
In this present world.
Right now. Okay? So now with something, I'll finish this. Looking for that blessed hope and glorious appearance of the great God and our Savior, Hamashiach Yahushua, whom the word calls Jesus, who gave himself for us that he might redeem us from all iniquity and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works, meaning that we really want to do good. Okay? What did I say I was going to get after this? There's something I wanted to prove that went with this. I said I'll get it right after this.
Yeah, it's on tip of my mind.
Fill in that praise of all time. Oh yeah, I'll praise them. Yeah, what was it?
You just said it too.
I just said it.
Yeah.
Uzziah, what else did I say? I ain't forgot about that. All right. Okay. Back to Romans 5:21. It says that as sin have reigned unto death. No, it was verse 20. Verse 20. Moreover, the law entered that the offense might abound. So now that we understand why the Most High used laws to bring forth the offense, so that you can see, and that the grace will abound. And it'll abound even higher than your sin. All right? Because the wisdom of the Father is smarter than the wisdom of this world. All right? And it says, where sin abounded, grace did much more abound. So it even went higher. It gave you an opportunity to do what? To come up out of that sin. That as sin have reigned unto death, even so might grace reign through righteousness. Okay? Unto eternal life. By Yahushua, whom the word calls Jesus. So now, for the brother Uzziah, Romans 6:14, okay, and everybody else, for sin, check this out. For sin shall not have dominion over you. So now this is telling you that sin is not supposed to control you. Whatever sin it is, it's like there is a grace period for grace. That is correct. There is a ticking clock that nobody knows how much time you got per sin. But the scriptures do teach us to make no tarrying, to turn to the Lord and put not off from day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth. So now, for sin shall not have dominion over you. So no sin is supposed to control you. Whatever sin is, smoking, sexual sin, lying, anger. A lot of people be angry, no anger sin, no filthy mouth, no make baits, argumentative. Scriptures teach us to be slow to speak. So that means if you slow to speak, you gotta let somebody else talk. Swift to hear, that means you gotta be quiet and you gotta let somebody else talk. Slow to wrath, that means that you shouldn't be easily provoked of things that people say. If somebody is saying something, you must give them the floor to express what they think. And just because you gotta say something, you gotta rule your spirit, man. You don't have to say nothing. You have to listen to them. See, that's a sin that's not supposed to have control over you. Things people say or do, yeah, you ain't supposed to let that agitate you. You don't like it. And that's why you gotta patiently wait until you get the floor. And then you have to patiently, with the spirit, everything that lies within you, explain to them, okay, all right, that's not like that. And I don't like it that you said this. And then I don't like it that you said that. You're not supposed to let anger have control over you. So these are certain things that this is talking about. Adultery. See, because now let's bring in some things that will put to death. Okay. Adultery, idolatry, defiling the Sabbath day. Okay. Calling upon other gods, being in Islam, Buddhism, Mormonism, being a 5%er, being an atheist. All of those things were worthy of death. Blaspheming. All of those things was worthy of death. Those things are not supposed to have so much control over you that you keep doing it. So it says, for ye are not under the law. Now you got to find out what law are you not under. Okay. Go to Matthew 5:17. It's just
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
right. One more time.
Matthew 5 and 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
Right. So Christ said he didn't destroy laws. Okay. Now go to St. John chapter 8. St. John chapter 8 and 1. You got?
This is St. John chapter 8 and verse 1.
So listen good, Uzziah, and everybody, listen good. This is how you explain Romans 6:14. These are some examples. I'm going to take the long route. You can shorten it up after you hear it, just so that you can get to the gist of it. Go ahead.
Yahushua went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act.
Right, in the very act. So they actually seen her getting humped. That's the very act. This woman is taken in the very act. So now, go to Leviticus. Not Leviticus. Where is it? 20 and 10. Leviticus 20 and 10.
This is Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10. And the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death.
So now, these brothers was looking for Christ to bring forth this. Because it says that the woman, the adulterers, and the adulteress shall be put to death. Okay? So now let's go back to John 8.
Back to John 8 and verse 5.
Verse 4 again.
I'm sorry. Back to John chapter 8 and verse 4. They say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou?
Right. Go ahead.
This they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Yahushua stooped down, and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he heard them not.
So he ignored them. So somebody trying to draw, it was spirit tempting you, questioning you. A lot of Israelites, that's how you know the scribes and Pharisees spirit. They come up to you, questioning you, challenging you, questioning you. What your understanding is of the scriptures. Okay, that's the spirit that's in the scribes and Pharisees. But he stood down and he ignored them. But remember, the thing is, the judgment for them was actually to put her to death. But so in a sense, outside of them trying to tempt him, if they wasn't trying to tempt him, they still would have got the same result.
I got a question on that.
Okay, they still would have got the same result. But they just, they would have been wondering like, yo, we caught her doing this,
Right.
and because they had to bring her out into the elders of the city, or they could have executed the judgment without them,
Right.
because they were the elders. Go ahead.
My question is, could a part of the temptation, like when it said they tempted him, could the part of the temptation be based upon Leviticus 20 and 10 when it said bring the adulterer and the adulteress, because they only brought the adulteress, trying to trick him up to see if he gonna bring judgment on her without the man being present. Could that be part of the temptation?
It tell you what it says, that they might have to accuse him.
Right. So I'm saying that, and I'm saying that part of that too, because they didn't bring the man, right?
Right.
So if they didn't bring the man and Yahushua was like stone her, could they be like, well, we ain't bring the man? You know what I'm saying? Like the man and the woman supposed to get put to death.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying is that part of they trying to tempt him to see if he gonna judge this matter, judge it wrong. Because if they judge a woman without the man, that's judging the matter wrong. That's being unjust in judgment.
But we don't know. The man could have ran.
He could have ran. Okay. But we see why I asked it.
Yeah, but I'm going off. It says that they might have to accuse him. So when somebody accuses you of something, what happens to your squeaky clean image?
It's tainted.
It's tainted. You understand? And so now, this being a woman in Israel, I mean, people don't know. There are a lot of whores that are liked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There are a lot of harlots in Israel that are fornicating their behinds off. And they are well favored by people. And so you pass a judgment down to put her to death. How are all these people going to look at this face that they so familiar with?
Right.
They're going to have something against you.
Exactly.
And he was well favored by the people. Some he was like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But those, the Levitical priesthood, some rejected him. So they was looking for something to find fault in him because, you know, this brother did no sin. So they needed something to accuse him with. So now, where do we stop at? Verse 7. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one. So it showed you that those brothers were in sin. Went out one by one, beginning at the eldest unto the last. And Yahushua left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. When Yahushua had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, what those thine accusers? Have no man condemned thee? Because when you get condemned, that's it. You lose your life. That's fatal right there. She said, No man, Lord. And Yahushua said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Wait a minute. So how are you not going to bring forth the law? They were right. Because that was the law. That was the penalty. The scripture says, So shalt thou put away evil from amongst Israel. Go and what? Sin no more. So that was the newness. So now when you go back to Romans 6:14, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. That's what that's talking about. You are not under the penalty of death. Now let's go to Deuteronomy 17. This is because the brother missed it. Uzziah, you still there? Deuteronomy 17. Uzziah, you still there? Deuteronomy 17 and 2. If there be found, okay. If there be found among you within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, a man or woman which hath wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God, and transgressing his covenant. That's one of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not commit adultery. The penalty for that is death. But he let this woman live, because this is a law that Israel is not up under anymore, because Christ brought this in. So now, here it's talking about idolatry. Exodus 20 and 3. But it goes for all the 10 commandments. Okay? This commandment that she was guilty is, give me one little point. Exodus chapter 20 and blah blah blah. What was that? About 14. Okay? Exodus 20:14. So those are all of them. So now, verse 4. Okay? And it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true. And the thing certain that such abomination is wrought in Israel. In her case, the act of adultery. Then thou shalt bring forth that man or that woman which have committed that wicked thing unto thy gates. Even that man or that woman, and thou shalt stone them with stones till they die. Thy gates is talking about the gates of the city, not your house. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is worthy of death be put to death. So the witnesses was die. But at the mouth of one witness shall he not be put to death. The hands of the witness shall be first upon him to put him to death, and afterwards the hands of other people. So shall I put away evil from amongst Israel. So now, go back to Romans chapter 6 and 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law. You're not under being put to death. But just because we're not going to be put to death, should we break the law anyway? No, we shouldn't break the law. Okay? Romans 3:31.
So this is Romans chapter 3 and verse 31. Romans chapter 3 and verse 31. Do we then make void the law through faith?
Right. Go ahead.
God forbid.
Right. God says no. Go ahead.
Yea, we establish the law.
So what do? We establish the law while we work in grace. Everybody understand that?
Right.
All right. One more time.
This is Romans chapter 3 and verse 31. Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. Yea, we establish the law.
We establish the law. Okay. Last. So you get it now, brother Isaiah? Understood. All right. Go to Ecclesiastes chapter 3. So just because Israel, you're not fasting, doesn't mean that you don't commemorate the day. Still commemorate the day. All right. So now, Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 3. Read that.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 3. Whoso honoreth his father maketh atonement for his sins.
All right. So now, these are not the overall like big day of atonement, this thing, complete sacrifice thing. This is going into, and I can see, I will help you see, we were supposed to fast today. No, that's why we going through this. Okay. You got to watch the, I was going to say the class, but you are in the class. The other class, with the long route. Okay. So now, whoso honored his father make an atonement. Make an atonement for his sins. It's the other class though, but you can watch this one too. Remember how Christ said, whosoever do the will of my Father which is in heaven. The Father, the Most High, give us a spirit to not just shepherd the flock, definitely not lord over his people, but to have genuine and sincere love and to be parental figures in your life. Matthew 10, we don't have to go there, but Matthew 10 is telling us concerning whosoever loveth mother or father more than me is not worthy of me. You can't be the disciple person. And that's because if you got a parent that's breaking the laws and then telling you to forget the commandments to break the laws, and then you listen unto the parent, then the Lord is going to eventually take the spirit away from you. And you won't be able to keep the commandments. And a lot of brothers and sisters don't really realize that that's what's happening unto them. You still have that childhood fear inside of you. So who are your parents today? Let's go to 1 Timothy. First Timothy chapter 5. Because remember, Christ is saying, whosoever do the will of my Father. 1 Timothy chapter 5 and 1, read that.
This is 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 1. Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father.
Right, so here's your father inside of the church, the congregation, the camps, the organization, the bodies, the assemblies, whatever you want to call it. Rebuke not an elder. What does the word rebuke mean? To show sharp disapproval. Okay, when you're being corrected or you're being taught, you're not supposed to hate the leaders. That's breaking a law. Go to Leviticus. Nope, Exodus 22 and 28. That's it. Exodus 22.
This is Exodus chapter 22 and verse 28. Thou shalt not revile the gods.
Thou shalt not revile the gods. Go ahead.
Nor curse the ruler of thy people.
Right, nor curse the ruler of your people. So you cannot show disapproval, sharp resentment, because who set the rulers up? The Most High did. Okay, the Most High did. So the elders, the gods, meaning judges, the judges of the people, you ain't supposed to show disrespect, sharp disapproval, resentment, deal with us any type of way, express and show us how you feel, vent. You understand? We're not children. We're not. You have to treat us on another level with some respect, like men of the Most High. The Lord said, and see that you reverence my priest. So let's go back. So 1 Timothy 5 and 1, rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, the younger men as brethren. So through the Spirit, you're being shown a family that was outside of a family. Actually, you're just being strengthened with brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, nephews and nieces. Your life is getting broad. Okay, you want to check that area and never went off. Make sure it's not in the wrong position. The elder women as mothers, the younger as sisters with all purity. That means with with sober thinking, all honesty, and looking at them in this type of fashion, like a family, like the elder as a father. The other brothers, like, this is my brother. So people are not supposed. So you know how people not, like some of us, they don't know the difference. You tell other brother, that's my brother. So they actually think that, man, that's my brother. So that's how they're supposed to, feel about the elder. That's a father figure to me. Okay? And the same thing, that's a mother. So you have to treat them with that level of respect and have that in your mind. All right? So now, let's go back and understand Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 3. It says, whoso honoreth his father maketh an atonement for his sins. So we still gonna commit transgressions and small sins and stuff like that. We can sin, the thought of foolishness is sin. We can sin with our mouth. Sometimes we can be not forthcoming. We could be misleading. We could be impatient. We can get angry. We can speak out of turn. I sin. I do things that are wrong. I might be impatient and say something. Now I gotta apologize. But that's okay. I'm not saying I'm so proud I could just apologize. No, because it's the right thing to do. I have to offer the sacrifice of my lips. I owe this to you. If I offend you, I owe this, because I have to show you that, listen, I actually care for you. And so I don't want your feelings to be hurt. So I have to let you know that, I am apologetic for the offense, because it's not something that wasn't meant. So now, what happens because of the humility to the elders? The Father said, your atonement, you're going to be atoning for your sins and your faults, because the fathers in the truth, being the elders, what are they going to do? They're going to show you the correct way. And so by you honoring those brothers, those elders, what do you think is going to end up coming out to you? The reproof of instruction. That's what's going to come out to you, the reproof of instruction. And when that reproof of instruction, that's going to turn into a guiding light, man, that ain't going to go out. The scriptures say, let's get it. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. That's why it says, don't rebuke them, man. Don't rebuke them. Don't say nothing. Listen. It's times I just tell brothers, don't say nothing. Just listen. Because them spirits, man, will be trying to get you to justify yourself, make provisions for your flesh, when the scriptures forbid you to do that. Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 9.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 9. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge. Yea, he gave good heed and sought out and set in order many problems.
Right. So this is something that Israel have to figure out. The sins that as you live in day to day, what is going to help cleanse your way? Yeah, taking heed. Learning from elders, taking heed. But what is up with these father figures that the Most High set up in Israel? They're going to teach the people knowledge, which is the doctrine, the commandments of life. Yeah, he himself gave good heed. Okay? And sought out. So this is something that you got to realize. Making an atonement for your sins is an everyday process. Not something that happens once a year. Because what did the Messiah do? Once. He died for you. And once he died for you, he expected you to have a continual maintenance of your mindset. So you have to let his servants do their job. And in doing so, know that for sure that they themselves take good heed and seek out in order to give you the things that's needed and best for you in your life. Why did you think the Lord loved Levi, the first Levi? Because he feared, man. So the Most High, man, he don't pick brothers that don't fear him, that don't love him, that don't believe in him. He picked those that love him, that believe, that have faith. And they set in order many proverbs. Man, they just set in proverbs that ain't written in the proverbs. They set in order. They're sayings. You understand that? Yeah. Go ahead.
The preacher sought to find out acceptable words.
Right. We look to seek things that are going to fit the needs of each and every last brother or sister. What does this brother need? What does this sister need? We seek that out and make these things as acceptable to this person, because do everybody have the same personality? The answer is no. No. Can't give everybody the same cough medicine, man. Everybody needs a Tylenol. No. What's a different pill? What's a different form of medicine? One is a Tylenol. Huh? No, it's the same thing. Huh? Benadryl. Two different types. Benadryl. Another one, antibiotic. You get what I'm saying? 3 different type of pills, 3 different type of situations. The preacher sought to find out acceptable words. Go ahead.
And that which was written was upright.
And that which was written. So everything that we're saying is going to be upright. Go ahead.
Even words of truth.
Even words of truth. So by submitting and humbling yourself to this on a daily basis, what's happening unto your sins? You're making an atonement for those sins. When we have these conversations on the phone, what's up, brother? How you doing? And then the Spirit begin to speak. That's the Father Most High teaching you, telling you what to do, telling you what not to do. But by you subjecting yourself unto that vessel that the Father is using, the Most High is forgiving your sins on a daily basis, man. On a daily basis. Not just one time in a year, man. On a daily basis. He's forgiving you. The thing is, because he sees and know you trying. That's why grace is where sin abounds, grace is much more abounding. Because he see you trying. His eyes are upon them. Verse 11.
The words of the wise are as gold.
The words of the wise are as gold. You know, the little pointy thing that takes the beast in the field. You see them walking around, shepherds walking around with those things. Poking the animals. Don't go this way, go this way. Go ahead.
And as nails fastened by the masters of assembly.
Right. And as nails fastened.
Which are
No, Slocky. I was just pausing because I wanted us to, that's what I mean. And as nails fastened by the masters of assemblies. They say, for instance, I actually was thinking about something, my thing. You take that nail, man, and you got a carpenter and he fastened that. He take that nail stuck in there, man. That ain't coming out. That's the ability, that's what our word's supposed to do into the minds of brothers and sisters. Okay? So now, once that happens, and you allow that to happen, you make an amends for the sins that you were committing. You got to let this process happen. But Israel, you can't love the world so much that you don't let this cause and effect happen. You can't love the world so much to where it's going to take this out of the way. And you just going to try and man up on sin. Because it's not going to be something that you like. Hebrews chapter 10. You won't even understand what's coming for you. You didn't stop it?
It was on 81. Just tell me 81.
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 26.
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 26. For if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful looking for of judgment and fiery indignation.
Right. Who's going to give you the knowledge of the truth?
The prophets.
Right. The fathers. The fathers of the nation are going to give you the acknowledgement of this truth. And so if you continue to sin after you receive this acknowledgement of the truth, you know that atonement for your sin, for you, is going to be made void. All right? Go ahead. It says, but a fearful looking of judgment. So that's what you have to look for as an inheritance. A fearful looking of judgment. And fiery indignation which shall devour what? The adversaries, meaning those that oppose the word of the Lord. Go ahead.
He that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses.
So we went over that. All right? Yeah, they did die without mercy. There was no mercy at all. Hold on, brother. That thing was freezing us. All right. So he that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses. So when the Lord did away with the death penalty, because that's what that was, did he know what he was doing? The answer is yes. When Christ let the adulterous woman go and said, sin no more, did he know what he was doing? The answer is yes. So are we to continue in sin? The answer is no. So how do we live a life, how do we live an atoned life on a daily basis? You got to obey the voice of the prophets of God, which he set up as elders in the congregations and fathers in his families. You have to obey those voices that tell you to keep the commandments. Sisters, you know, when you don't understand something and there's a discrepancy at home, you must remain in order. We tell you, listen, obey the voice of your husband, listen unto him. I know sometimes you might think things are not fair, but it's not for you to think. It's for you to obey the voice of the Lord and let the Most High bring forth the fruit of your application. Brothers, if you're going wrong and it come out, and see, you got to listen to the voice of your wife. The scriptures teach you, hey, this woman is a helpmeet and you must render due benevolence. Let's get that. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Okay, 1 Corinthians chapter 7. And verse 3.
This is 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 3.
Give him a moment to get it.
First Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 3. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband.
Right, so now this is the definition. Listen to the definition. Okay, it says the quality of being well-meaning, kindness, synonyms: kindness, goodness, goodwill, charity, compassion, So the quality of being well-meaning, kindness, charity, goodness, goodwill, so on and so forth. So now, here when it says, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. Israel, y'all have got to learn to listen to each other. This is not just on a physical level, but this is also verbal level too. Say, for instance, if a brother is going astray, then the sister is set there in his life to be a help. How do we know? Jump over to verse 13. Read that.
Verse 13. And the woman which hath an husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him.
Go ahead.
For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife.
Right, he's clean. The unbelieving husband, and if in this case the husband is unbelieving and the wife is going to sanctify him, how's she going to do that with her mouth shut? She got to say something. It's the same thing in a situation to where there's a couple and somebody went astray, like the brother went astray, the sisters, she got to say something. You see it's wrong, you got to say something. Okay? So that's just the point, all right? To save one another. So lose that. Let's go back and finish Hebrews, and then we're going to shut it down.
So back to Hebrews chapter 10 and now verse 29. Of how much sore punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thought worthy who have trodden underfoot the Son of God?
Right. So you think that was something to be destroyed because they despise Moses' law. To despise the law means to not be afraid of it. The law tells you that this is a death penalty, and you still go do it?
Right.
Do we not hear this? The law, that was a death penalty. The scripture said if you did this, you're going to be put to death. Of how much sore punishment, meaning worse. That's what sore or worse punishment, suppose you, shall he be thought worthy, who have trodden underfoot the Son of God, and have counted the blood of the covenant, meaning the forgiveness of sins, wherewith he was what? Sanctified, meaning you was set apart, an unholy thing. It's man, I ain't got to do that. And have done despite unto the Spirit of grace. The Lord give you an open opportunity to say, hey, whatever sin you're doing, stop. And no matter how terrible that sin is, I'm going to let grace cover you. Man ain't even that merciful. You mess up with man, he cussing you out. He want to tell, he going to discourage you. He going to break your spirit. He going to tell you how tired he is, how done he is, how through it is, how he can't take it no more. The Spirit of grace ain't like that. The Spirit of grace abounds more than your sin. So what is the Spirit of grace? Teaching. So that means you have an opportunity to be taught. So what is God the Father will do? He will enter into your life and put somebody in your life and in your world and in your environment that's not going to look at your sin and take it personal, but they just going to teach you out of the scriptures and teach you how to overcome that sin. That's the Spirit of grace. That's how it's going to overbound, more powerful to where you won't even have no excuse. Because who's taking it personal? Your father ain't going to take it personal. Your teacher ain't going to take it personal. Your elder ain't going to take it personal. They're just supposed to bring out the scriptures and say, hey, do this to avoid further punishment. See? But if you count that and you sin despite that, man, it says, verse 30, for we know him that said, vengeance belongs to me. I will recompense. So the Lord said, that's okay. He gonna recompense you, said the Lord. And again, the Lord shall judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. So the last thing that we want to do is fall while we're in judgment. So should we take the correction as literal? Yes, we should take it as literal, because it's going to come a day when the Lord said He's going to judge us. And when that time comes, we want to be found faithful. Remember, there's nothing wrong with not stealing. That's a good thing. That ain't no trick right there. Tail bearing. Taking a tail and bearing it. Gossiping. In other men's business. There's no sin against that. You're not being bamboozled, man. Though all those are righteous acts right there. The white man did create none of this, man. He ain't created none of this. He just, the only thing that he has is money. That's all he got. He got no brains. The Father is going to, He's giving us brains, and then going to turn around and give us the wealth of this world. That's right. He going to give us that. But first we got to get this. The Spirit. And we have to understand, why must I live like this? Because it only makes sense, man. It only makes sense. To be content with what I got over here, with what He gave me, it has to digest and make sense. So you got to feel the same way. You got to be loyal to the cause. When you become loyal to the cause, that's going to show that you understand. And then you have to persuade your house, which might not necessarily be on the same page or on the same level with you. But it's your task and it's your job to bring them up to par. And it's best suitable that before you go out and do anything first, that you reflect, you make an impression at home. So you make an impression at home so great that they turn into the believers because they see the faith and accomplishments in you. Then you're going to understand the household on every street. You're going to understand the struggle and how difficult and how hard it is. But you got to overcome your own things first before you start turning to the people trying to reprove them. So, lesson in you, brothers. You want to start the communion now? There are some that don't understand. I pray that someday we all come to an understanding. All praises up. Yeah, I would love to keep going. I mean, especially saying, you got to work tomorrow? Who got to work tomorrow? What is he doing now? Yeah, we did, Yash. wasn't. What is this? I got fired on my date. On my off day, I can listen for hours. It wasn't still don't worry about that. You know, that saying that in order for one door to open up, another one has to close. So just be patient and keep the faith, man. Keep the commandments. It doesn't necessarily, the Most High knows what's going on. I give you an example of how something positive came from something so negative. So I had this house, nice house, and I stopped renting to anybody. I would just eat it, sit on it, before I just put anybody in it at this point. So I had this house, 2-story, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. I had some tenants that lived in it, and I literally went through it with a Q-tip, and touched it up, mopped it, and that's how clean they were. That's how they kept the place. 2-year lease. That was impressive. Above no, he was there. Right up.
Yes, sir.
A Q-tip, right?
Literally a Q-tip.
Literally a Q-tip.
Yeah.
Touched up with a Q-tip. A Q-tip. And with the little cotton on the end, I fixed their house with a Q-tip. Mopped it, set it back out there. For rent. So as I was looking, Uzziah, I run into this couple, had a few young kids, about 3 of them. And it fit perfect for them. They both had jobs. The uncle said, don't mess with her with a 10-foot pole. I said, all right. So I ignored her, didn't mess with her. Maybe a month or 2 went by. She came back around. Same old sad story. She's in somebody's house, her kid's father's house. And the mother was tripping. She needed to go. I said, okay, let me give her a chance. So I give her a chance. Put her in my house. Nice house. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. Q-tip touch up. People before them ain't give me no issue. The reason why the people before them moved was because she had ran into some money. She had filed for disability. And shit, man, they gave her, I don't know, let's say like a 10-year backup or something. Oh, she came in. She struck it big, man. She could have bought the house.
Right.
She had a lot of money.
Yeah.
So she moved. Recently, when was that? About 2 years ago?
Yes, sir.
About 2 years ago. So stay with me. Uzziah. This is for you. So I put this woman in there the first fucking day. She scratched the floors up, moving her ghetto furniture in, moving a refrigerator. She just, oh Oh, I was heated. Stay with me. I couldn't believe it. Anywho, she's in there. Couple months. She set something on top of the return. I'm going somewhere. On the return for the AC, and it froze the line up. It had ice all the way around the line set. Made the condenser stop working and everything. Had somebody go out, you know, she had a couch or had a chest or something, so she suffocated the system. So the next month, she talking about, oh, it's rats in here. So she tried to get out of her lease. She had a gas company come out talking about she smelled gas. She's running a scam. She smelled gas. She's standing out on the front, telling everybody it's rats in this raggedy motherfucker. I'm like, I'm at awe because I try to do an excellent job on something. I'm at awe. It's rats in here. It's gas. It's gonna blow up. This, that, and the third. I'm like, this bitch ain't got my money. That's what's up. Sorry, y'all. Excuse me. I'm like, oh, this woman don't have my money. She didn't want to pay her rent. Excuse me. For real. Don't delete me because I said that. This was a nigga, a female. Okay. She was outside cussing and fussing, talking about the house. So now, the people out there looking like, yo, man, I know you get down. I know you get down. Yes, for real. See, they was like, what's up? They was like, yo, I know you get down. What did she say? I said, man, ain't nothing wrong with that house. She just don't want to pay her rent. I said, she gonna be moving out. I said, you want to buy it? He said, yeah, let me see it. That woman moved out the next week, took all her stuff. She was happy to go. I told her just get out. She was happy to go. The dude that stood out there listening to her cuss and fuss bought that house. You was there. You talking about for real? You was there.
He got it to the store.
You got it. Oh, yeah, look at that. So now listen. Oh, I was heated. Because the house,
Invalid option.
the house that nothing was wrong with, she scratched the floors up. Now I'm passed up all different type of people. I felt judged. I'm like, what is this? Is this a judge? What is this? Why? What's going on? Until that house sold. It sold within 2 months. He just had to get the money together. It sold within 2 months. Yeah. I was just waiting on him. And I had my main man, one of my main guys, camped there every day to make sure it don't nobody come into it, and he did it. I appreciate that. Much love. So the point is, yes, blessed in disguise. It happened for me. It could definitely happen for you, brother. It could definitely happen for you. Sometimes, y'all, when it seems like something is all bad, you gotta weather the storm, man. The Most High is putting something else together for you. You just don't see it, though.
Right.
That's why the scriptures say, think of the Lord with a good heart. That's what that means. Even in affliction, even when it seems like things are going wrong, which they do, think of the Lord with a good heart. And the scriptures say, in the simplicity seek Him. What? You see what I'm saying, brother? You couldn't work that job if you was still there. He said he got a new gig, $25 an hour. He started next week. See? And so you could have been told me that, then I wouldn't even have to tell you this story, man. But that's okay. Somebody else need it. Right, that's a good story. 1 is 2, I can be in the classes. Right, all praises. All right. So anybody else had something negative happen and something positive came behind it? You know, if don't nothing positive come, then, you know, that's when you might be wondering, like, hey, that which I see not teach thou me. You know, if I've done iniquity, I do it no more. So, but sometimes the positive things, they don't just happen right away, but it helped me to understand. Really sorry about the profanity, but it helped me to understand, you know, the patience of the Most High, and that the Most High, you know, He do know, you know, He do hear prayers. Okay. Because I guess I was getting tired of that place, to be honest. You know, you got to pay police. You know, you got to police them and stuff like that. So, all right, it's Matthew 26. Get out of here, let y'all go. That's all right, brother. He said he hated his last job. Concerning the hatred that we have for work, y'all know what the scriptures talk about that? You not. What does the scripture say about hatred for our jobs? It says, hate not labor's work. Right. So if the scriptures teach us to hate not labor's work, Israel, whatever the Father, okay, kept you away from class tonight. I understand. You know, when the Most High, you know, put us to work and send us through something, we take it, no problem. We take it and ask for understanding pertaining to it. Because it's some place we're going to meet somebody, we're going to learn something, and we're going to use it, we're going to need it for something. So, yeah. We're going to use it for something. So get the experience. I used to be like that, working as a union carpenter under these companies. They had some real forward from time to time. And I would just go and I would learn different techniques from different people. So, Matthew 26, we got to get out of here. Now, when Yahushua was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came up to him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he said at me, I'm so glad it's the Sabbath, man. I ain't doing nothing. I'm literally ain't doing nothing. I ain't gonna tell y'all who gotta work how long I'm gonna be laying down. Cause y'all gonna be like, well, we should have left on time. No, that's why I'm saying we trying to liberate. It'd be beautiful to liberate our people. Israel, we gotta put our heads together and come up with something. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. If we create a foundation, we can liberate each other one by one. The foundation grow from city to city. Create jobs, for real talk. Create jobs to when you can stop and go. You can stop and go. Like the job that we just got. I told the guy, you know, we're going out of town. We ain't gonna be back until we're gonna start this job on Wednesday. We're gonna be your first thing smoking. Not a problem. So you start and stop. Everything is based upon, you know, what we got going. We ain't going tomorrow because of the Atonement. We ain't going Friday. We want to prepare for the Sabbath. It won't Friday morning. It won't be none. But if you need me, let me know. I'm on call. I can meet with you. Other than that, we won't be back. So, do y'all really understand the freedom. Stop thinking that you can't not make it without Esau. You can. Stop thinking that, well, what about my health insurance? Let me tell you something. I raised my children in the first few years. I was afraid. I was thinking like, hey, you know, I needed to make I made, as a union corporate, I made $1,000 a week. So I needed to make $4,000 a month. So as a contractor, I wanted to keep up with that. I struggled to keep up. Though I kept up with it. Wasn't no problem. I kept up with it. But the thing was the insurance. So I was like, what if the children get sick, this, that, and the third? But ain't no getting sick if you keeping them commandments. It wasn't something that we couldn't handle. Over the counter cold medicine, cough drops, cough syrup. And then I started learning the herbal game. So then I started the allergies and stuff like that. Once I started learning that, then things, they got better. You know what I'm saying? But praises to the Most High and Him only. Nobody was ever hospitalized when I was worried. This was 2005, 2006. So how long ago was that? Now shit, in a few years, they gonna be an adult. I made it. And I didn't have to worry about them being hospitalized, anything, the dentist or whatever, a checkup, skin irritation. I could pay for that little stuff out of my pocket. You get what I'm saying? Hey, man. I didn't let him make me afraid. And I just keep working for him. Shit, I know how to survive. I know what I need, and that's why I go out and get it. And I don't come home until I have it. I put myself in situations to provide and make it happen. And I'm telling y'all, if y'all want to liberate our sisters, I need y'all help. I've been screaming to these brothers forever. I'm gonna turn to my sisters. I need y'all help. If y'all want to help be liberated, and I'll make a way through the Spirit of the Most High, God willing, we can do this. We can create foundations. They don't have to be church foundations. That's the last thing you want. They're not gonna give money for that. These foundations will have to be something to where you improving the society and the environment that you're living within. They will give you money for that. They will give you can create jobs and have a job for yourself. It can even be non-for-profit, 503, whatever that is. It can even be that. 501, not 4.
Yeah.
501c3. Yeah. For real. It could be medical. Man, I was looking, y'all check out the Black Panthers. What they was doing in their time, man. They had doctors on board. They're the first ones that was actually finding out how the sicknesses that our people was having, leukemia, sickle cell, anemia, and all of that, man. They was doing a lot.
Yes, they would.
We have to get on the ball, man, and we got to get on the ball. We got to do something about it. And then y'all won't be like, I got to get up in the morning. Y'all will be like, hey, where we going? We ain't got nowhere to go. Let's set up. We hang out all night. But it takes y'all not to be afraid in order to make this thing happen. And not only do this here, but we got to do this in every state, wherever y'all at. We got to do this. So we're going to talk for 3-4 minutes after we get off of this thing, man. Shalom. For real, though. Because we got to do something about this. This is one of the parts that I do not like, to see it in y'all face. I gotta go to work in the morning. And I'm not saying it because I don't, but I'm saying it because this is over everything, man. All right, so we got Matthew chapter 26 and 9. says, for this ornament might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Yahushua understood it, he said unto them, watch over you the woman, for she hath wrought the good work upon me. For you have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. When they shall pour this ornament on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also that this woman hath done be told for memorial of her. So all praises to the Most High for giving us to the Spirit to come forth and give Christ some comfort for his burial and set a beautiful example of repentance, a broken and contrite heart. So now, 1 Corinthians 11 and 23, the communion. For I received of the Lord, that which also I delivered unto you, that the Lord Yahushua, the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when they had given thanks, he brake it and said, take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. So all Israel must do the communion of Christ, because it represents the body and blood of the Lord. After the same manner also he took the cup when he had supped, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do ye as often as ye drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death till he come. Wherefore whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. So see, Israel, how we have to be sincere, right? To avoid being what? Guilty. But let a man examine himself, so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily, eat and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. For this cause, meaning weak and sickly among you, and meaning sleep. What is it to be unworthy? It's like receiving acknowledgement for something that you're not doing. Because this signifies that I'm really, really trying. You might not be perfect, but you're trying. You're trying. You know you're trying. The Father knows you're trying. So that's reasonable. But not to be trying, I don't think that qualifies there. Because it is, meaning weak, sick, and asleep. How you got it? That's weak is the troubled spirit. You have a weak nature to sin. Can't overcome sin. Neither can you recover, and you end up killing yourself. For if we would judge ourselves, and you know what else this is? Losing consciousness. That is truth. Yeah. You ever seen somebody that once was in the scriptures and now they're not in the scriptures no more? They just blended amongst the people. They just fell back. They went back to sleep. That's terrible right there. To go back to sleep, defiling yourself, corrupting yourself. Because the judgment fall upon people that turn back. For if we would judge ourselves, we should not be judged. Shalom out. Most High Christ bless. But when we are judged, we are chastened of the Lord, that we should not be condemned with the world. So we avoid judgment by correcting ourselves and stopping. Because if we don't, and the judgment come, you don't have no consequences on where the judgment gonna come. What if it attack your lungs? You didn't see that one coming. Man. Judgment can come in any shape, form, or fashion. All right. So to avoid that, stop sinning. All right. Also, in the name of Christ, thank you for the food and drink. Amen. This is body which is broken for you. This is blood. Israel, we do the communion live. It's leaving an example for you to see. You must commune. Us being long distance, it's no excuse. You must commune. Christ is even, well, I'm going to say even further away, but It's right with us. But the thing is, you must commune. Right? Unleavened bread, a cracker is bread. So don't get it twisted. Find something without yeast in it. Find wine, something as small as a cup or shot. And at the end of class, you must do it. Okay? So we're not doing it for show. We're doing it, going through the scriptures, explaining it to you, teaching you an example for you to follow. Don't let this example go out in vain. If you're a believer in the Yahweh Shai, you must be a partaker because this demonstrates his fellowship, okay? All right, Israel, strength and honor. So we're going to stand and face Jerusalem. Please stay around for the prayers. Share the videos. All right? Don't forget, share the videos. All right, let's go and enjoy the rest. And if anybody need me or have any questions, don't hesitate. Just hit me in the inbox. Shalom. Okay, Israel.
If every man was just like me, what kind of sanctuary would this be?
Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power and the glory forever. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Relay rest prayer, Luke 10:2. Therefore said unto them, the harvest truly is great, but the labors are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest that he will send forth labors into his harvest. Bless you, Most High, King of heaven and earth, and all things Most High, name of Christ. Send more disciples and teachers to your harvest. They gather your people Israel and send counsel behind your laws this time before thy people Israel. Give to us strength to break down all lies with thy word. And in Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Your blessing of Israel. Now I'm going to start to 6:24. Children of Israel, the Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord express countenance upon thee and give thee peace. In the Christ's name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Children of Israel, bless one another.
Most High name of Christ bless you all.
All right, so brothers and sisters out there, Tabernacles is coming up. If you're coming out here, Shalom, Brother Russell. If you're coming out here, your offering, you must get that in. I was asked about it today, and for y'all here. Yes, it is the Sabbath. You can cook. You just cannot buy. So, remember, it's Monday at evening, right? So, right. So we at the end of the week. So they want to start doing what they do, okay? So make it happen, captains. All praises, all praises. Y'all share the video. I'm going to get with y'all. Peace and blessings, all right? Shalom.